to get this bad boy started. Welcome back to the channel. It's time for the Comics Aficionados right here on Thinking Critical YouTube. I hope everyone is having a very nice weekend. We got a great panel, got some interesting things happening within comic books. First up, we do have Gabe returning to the channel. You just did a big review on Here Comes Calico with our friends over at Sigma Comics. How did it go?
It went well, as can be expected. Sure, as with any other comic, I don't want to spoil it. Go read the review. You're gonna like it a lot. I will say I went into the comic cold, and it pretty much surprised me on page one. And it's not at all what you expected, or at least that's not what I expected, because I try to keep my expectations just sort of neutral. If you're into animal rights and you're into vigilantes and you don't mind a heck of a lot of violence, you're gonna like that comic a lot.
So how you been, Gabe? It looks like are you trying out to replace Don Johnson? What are they redoing Miami Vice?
This is I'm auditioning for the Magnum PI reboot. So
very nice. You just got to get rid of the beard. If you just had the mustache, I think you'd have it.
Maybe if I just go for the soul patch, that'll work out.
It's hipster, modern Magnum PI.
Well, no, because I'm not wearing flannel and suspenders.
And I don't have. He doesn't have a tool belt on.
I got to do the handlebar mustache.
Do you wear a fanny pack, Gabe? I could see that happen.
Goodness.
No, I do not wear a fanny pack. Thank you for asking. I appreciate your concern.
Wondering.
No, it's appreciated. It's appreciated. Don't talk to me for the rest of the stream. Thank you.
Who else we got? Eric Breed returning. Normally, Eric, you're working on the weekends, but you've been able to make it over here. Fresh off, did you have your Fossils stream already?
That's every Wednesday.
Wednesday. Yeah. Definitely check out the Fossils on Wednesday. And Eric Breen provides voices to classic comic book stories.
In a manner of speaking, yes. Nothing like you've ever heard before.
How you been, Breen? You doing all right?
I'm doing all right. I said, yeah, got the roof is finished. And now I'm dealing with a rodent problem.
Oh, my goodness. You got a raccoon.
No, raccoons stay in the attic where they belong. No, I've got a couple of roommates I didn't ask for. And
oh, my goodness. Mm-hmm. There's YouTube videos on how you can solve that.
Yeah. I called a pro.
Very nice. Also returning to us is the Sultan of Soup himself.
Hold on. I have to ask Breen something. Why do you need a hooker for that?
It always comes back to that with who doesn't knock.
You interrupted me for that?
Yes.
Whatever. Also with us is the Sultan of Soup himself, Eric O'Sullivan, the only man I know that has a comic book / food channel. How you doing, Eric?
I'm doing wicked pissa, as we say here in Boston.
Very nice.
Hello, everybody.
What's been the special this week? What was selling good at the restaurant?
We did we got a new slow cooker, a big industrial size slow cooker. It's like 2 stories, and we can put something in there when we leave, and it will slow cook overnight. So when we get in the next day, it's just perfect. We had some beef barbacoa, which is an authentic Mexican dish. So we had this like 16-hour slow braised beef that just fell apart, and it was so greasy, yummy goodness because we just properly seasoned it, and then we served it with corn tortillas and cilantro, onions, and some rice and beans, and that was the best thing all week, I think.
I would have white dude that up and made it into nachos.
You could do anything you want with it.
What's been going on in the channel? You obviously you're talking about comic books every week. You're going through the calendar. Anything else happening?
Nothing too much. I'm getting ready. I'm trying to think about what am I going to do next year. Am I going to do daily content? You know what I mean? It's so interesting being a YouTuber, and because you're your own producer, you got to stay on top of it, or it's going to get on top of you. I mean, if you want to make daily content, get it done. I mean, no one else is going to do it for you. So I kind of do it like
content is difficult.
Yeah,
I kind of do ideas.
I do it in the Purge West manner. You shoot a lot. And you schedule it, and then you release it, and you just keep a nice cycle. You stay ahead of the ball, and don't get behind it, because then that's when you're going to falter. So yeah, it's been really fun. I'm really enjoying making content. I mean, I point out planets in the morning. I wake up before the sun rises. So like, hey, look, there's Jupiter. Yeah, right there. Can't you see it? Yeah. We share the same sky. You can see the planets every morning too. Love this.
Next up, we've got Drew from Comics Elite. What's going on with you guys, Drew? You doing any Comic-Con soon?
We're going to be doing New York Comic Con beginning of October. I'll be there because we're pulling because Born of Blood #1 will be out in stores by then. We're going to have a ton of exclusives for New York Comic Con, and Sean wants to make that the belle of the ball. So we'll see how well that goes. Very
nice. What you been up to, Drew? Did you read anything good this week?
Swamp Thing 16 was amazing.
That's it. I'm out.
Pussycat.
I've been reading I've been reading a novel, The Heat 2, the sequel to Heat by Michael Mann. It's actually
I saw that. It's like a prequel and a sequel in one book.
Yes, it is awesome. It's a lot of fun.
Very nice. I'm gonna have to talk to you behind the scenes about that one because I was actually interested in getting that on Audible. What else we got? Last but not least, we got Doc. How you doing, Doc? Are you feeling okay today?
I am I am most definitely least. But yeah, I'm fine. I'm doing great today.
I mean, you're already talking about hookers and stuff, so
yeah. So that means I'm in a great mood. I'm making hooker jokes already.
Very nice. So, all right, well, let's get into it. Apparently, I caused a few waves. Well, actually, we do have a super chat. Let's hit this one first, and then we'll get into it. Cal Miles says, good news for DC. I'm looking forward to all the reading on Twitter. Also, Kevin Conroy is Hordak in the CGI show, so I'm hoping for more. I think he's referring to the video with some of the sources that I had talking about what's going on with DC Comics and in Warner Brothers Discovery as far as accounting and whatnot. And everyone loves Kevin Conroy. Is he the best Batman of all times?
Maybe.
He's close.
Conversation.
He's up there. He's no Adam West. He's no Olan Sule. I can tell you that. But
as long as he doesn't actually have to physically act, because I saw that episode of
Cheers,
Arrow or whatever.
It was
one of the
Crisis crossover.
And he is not a good. He's a great voice actor. Not so much with the live action.
Mm-hmm. Voice acting's harder than live action acting, Doc. Everyone knows that.
I'm not disagreeing. I'm saying that as long as he doesn't have to physically go and do anything.
Well, at the same time,
as long as I don't have to see his face.
At the same time, he was validating the Batwoman character, saying like she was the best of all of them, better than him.
Exactly. I mean,
plus that exosuit wasn't great.
No,
it didn't look particularly good.
All right.
No. Yeah.
Let's talk about this DC stuff. I had a source tell me that apparently behind the scenes, the accounting office from Discovery is collaborating with the accounting office of Warner Brothers. Obviously, they're doing through a merger right now, and they started asking for some information regarding DC's publishing, sales, and whatnot. They got the information back, and they started asking some tough questions. Gabe, you are a corporate sellout yourself. Does this sound like what you think would be happening?
I expected this to happen. I didn't expect it to happen this soon. Because as we know, if you look at the layers between Discovery, WB, and then DC at the bottom, I say that in order of financial importance. DC Comics is really at the bottom of that stack, just for the amount of revenue that they generate, ad sales, and everything else. So I expected them to eventually get to the numbers because you can't just have an arm or a section of your business just operating out there and not know what's going on. I didn't expect it to happen this quickly. I was expecting them to take it maybe a little bit longer because they have bigger fish to fry, especially with all the turmoil that's going on with HBO Max and WB Pictures and DC Pictures and everything else. But it's not. I would say it's normal. I understand that people are sort of unsure about what this means or what are the implications that it can generate. But honestly, I think it's rather humdrum for a mergers and acquisition type setup. I just didn't expect it to happen this soon. That's all.
I'm with you. I thought they would probably wait a while because they have so many things that are kind of moving right now. They're canceling shows and greenlighting stuff, and they're delaying big projects and whatnot. But Jimmy, you misplaced your invite. I invited you, Jimmy. You said you didn't want to talk about comic books anymore. You want to come back and talk about comics? You can come back next weekend. My goodness.
This is what we do on Saturday. We talk about comic books. What does he want to talk about?
What are you expecting out of this, Eric? Were you excited to hear this news that maybe there will be some accountability and oversight regarding what DC Comics has been doing for the past few years?
Yes. I want bitter vengeance. I'm like Steve Zissou. I'm yelling for Esteban. And, you know what I mean? I want to get that tiger shark. And his name is Tom King. They will not fire him. But they fire the rest. Streamline that thing. Let's make fun products again. It seems so counterintuitive that like, oh, you're pandering to a niche market within a niche market, and we're not generating any of these sales that we got historically. And why? Because you tampered with the recipe too much. Let's go back to the original recipe. Let's see if people come back. That's it.
That would involve them recognizing that they did something wrong.
Right.
They're too egotistical.
Exactly.
I mean, they're look, most of the comic industry is made up of people with low self-esteem and let's say unearned sense of self-importance.
Mm-hmm.
The last thing they're going to do is publicly admit that, oh yeah, by the way, like we were wrong.
Right.
And all the things we did were wrong. They are really, really, I'd say if there's any industry that is basically professional gaslighters, it's comics.
Mm-hmm.
I know Neon and I, there was talk earlier, like on Twitter earlier this week, and we were talking a little bit, and they were talking about how the Image guys
today
they would have been, well, back even then, they were blackballed from the business.
Mm-hmm.
If Image had no choice but to succeed, those 7 guys had no choice but to succeed. And then the minute they did, the industry basically pretended like it never happened. Like they never got thrown out. And they're like, no, we totally supported you guys the entire time. We only said you couldn't work here because we knew that you needed to go out there and do it on your own so that you could come back to us. And I'm like, you fucking liars. It's an industry of professional gaslighters that pretends that the things that happened didn't happen, and the things that failed didn't fail, and they never admit when they were wrong. So, no, I mean, you'll see them just casually. It'll be a slow dribble back to something, and they're like, and they'll make some excuse for it.
Well, I mean, if Zaslav is the business shark that he presents himself to be, I don't think that's going to work. I'm not saying that they won't do it or they won't try it, but a business guy is not going to look at this and say, you had an established subscriber and reader base that was X number of millions of people. You were doing this amount of volume. You were generating this much revenue. Here we are, say 10, 15 years later, and you're a fraction of that.
Mm-hmm.
I fully expect, at least some contingent of DC Marvel staff or DC staff is going to say, well, if it's this reason and that reason, and the market change and the age out and everything else. But for him, I don't think if he's that much business focused, I don't think that's going to fly. I think he's going to look at that and say, you can't blame the customer for not buying the product that we make. Mm-hmm. You're either buying the product, you're either making the product that they want, or you're not. So which is it? Because he seems to be a very bottom line, make decisions kind of guy. And so I don't think he's going to go in for the soft sell. I think it's either going to be you either did it right or you didn't do it right. So who's at blame? Who's at fault? Who's to blame for that? And I think he's just going to go straight for that. Even if he's involved at that level, he could just have lower level managers looking at all this stuff. And then
I imagine he's just going to change the budget, right? Yeah, and set like this is what your sales like. You need to hit this kind of stuff,
right?
Like,
he probably has a contingent of senior managers that are saying, "Look at the numbers, cut this much, make this much, and just tell me when it's done." He may not even be involved at that level, so we'll see.
Breen, Jasper Playing 9 wants to know: have DC Comics lost too many readers to actually come back at this point?
More than likely, yes. But to the original question, you're talking like why have they already found their way to the comics division, so to speak, this early into the merger? I think it has to do with not many people are reading comics, but everybody knows that they exist. whether they've ever read one or not, whether they used to read one and read them and have stopped. And you can look at that, and and those comics are the source material for a lot of what you do in live action. And when they're not selling at all, you can look at that and say, there's got to be a reason for that. And you go in there, and I don't think that if you're a guy like David Zaslav, you're not going to accept, well, the fan base has gotten toxic. They just don't agree with our vision, because you hear all the, complaining online already about the stuff he's already done. But so I think there might be one last shot at fixing DC. I said, Jeff Johns coming back's a good step. There's a lot of people they've let go that they probably need to try to get back before, talk about fans aging out before the creators age out.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe, but I said, it's, we're talking about the new JSA series. 5 years ago, I would have been super hyped for that. Now, I'm going to have to see a couple issues and hear some reviews from people I trust before I think I even test that out, because they've just done so much damage to their brand.
What are your guys' thoughts up there at Comics Elite, Drew? Is that kind of the same thought? Like we'll trust them when we see some change?
Yeah, that's pretty fair. And honestly, when it comes down to it, they're not going to say they're fired. They'll say, like, they can't financially afford these writers. So unfortunately,
resign or retire.
We're going to have to let them go, unfortunately. Whatever will ease the fire on social media from the staff on the Wonder Woman books. But there is some hope, like I said, in November for some of these books. Like you said, JSA, yeah, I'll believe it when I read it. Hopefully it's good. Sylvester on Batman. But December, that's Capullo and McFarlane on Batman. That's one everyone is banking on, everyone is waiting on. Hopefully that's good. But most of these titles, they just got to be nuked. They're just terrible. Most of them just have to be nuked. They have to just start from the beginning.
What do you think about the strategy of putting backup stories in all their main titles and charging an extra $1? Because I went through the numbers from Marvel and DC for November, and the difference in price between the two, like generally speaking, is mind-blowing. Like, Marvel or DC Comics are like 15 to 20% more expensive right now than Marvel on average.
Yeah, one or two of those backups may be good, but a lot of them, they just as far as I know, I'm not reading them. My brother's not reading them. Most of our customers aren't reading them. No one talks about the backups. Mm-hmm. It's not. There's no financial point to it. I don't see
stories. Backup stories are designed to be value add, not charge them more. They're essentially to be used as promotional tools to see whether or not, based on reaction from readers, that particular character, story, whatever, can support its own title.
Yeah, exactly.
And it's essentially a backdoor pilot. For, like, in TV parlance, it would be a backdoor pilot for a new show or series. You don't charge the fucking customer for your own promotional shit. Marvel's been getting away with it with their $6, $8 whenever they did the Legacy book, when they did the Marvel 1000, whenever they've done, DC's done it with some of their future state stuff, where it's basically just preview books that they charge you for.
Mm-hmm.
Well, they did this in the 70s when they increased the page count and went from 40 to 50 cents on a lot of their titles, which it was a 20% increase, so it's kind of in line with what they're doing now, but it didn't work then. And now, I was around, I was buying comics in those days, and shelling out an extra dime, in those times, didn't seem nearly as daunting as shelling out an extra $1.
Mm-hmm. So, man, a dime back in those days, Breen, that's like 2 lawns.
To what? Yeah. Get off mine.
Get off my lawn.
Yeah, and the problem is most of those backups are just junk. I mean, if you leaf through them, the art style is completely different. Sometimes the stories are completely unrelated. I think the only title right now that has a backup in it that's worth a darn, because it's written by the same writer and it's cogent to the
Batman.
main story is Zdarsky's
Yeah.
the backup with Catwoman. And
Yeah.
that's actually pretty interesting, and some, depending on how you read it, it's a little bit more fun than the main story,
It
where she has
is.
to go find Penguin's illegitimate children or something like that.
I need to ask everyone here,
I'm listening.
how many of you actually regularly read the backup stories that are in a book?
I don't
Because
read any of them anymore.
I
Like the data pages and X-Men, I skip all of them now.
yeah, exactly. Like I read, like I was because I never got around to reading Spider-Man 900. I mean, it was I had read like half of it, but I'm like, this is fucking boring.
I saw the art in the back and I checked out. I could not, just a lot of that art was terrible.
Well, I saw Daniel Kibblesmith's name and I checked out. I didn't even look at the art. I just saw the credit page for the backup story. I'm like, oh, this fucking douche. No. And, and literally close the book.
I don't buy comics much anymore. I'm starting to now because of the show and being on the show. But like, if I saw that Tom King wrote the backup of one of these features, I would not pay money for that magazine just because I'm not doing anything to do with that individual.
Well, he wouldn't do any of the backups. He gets to do the big stuff. But
no, but just like
a lot of the backups, it's like Cena Grace, Gotham Girl Interrupted backup to Detective Comics.
Oh god,
that sounds cute.
Yeah,
I mean, there's nothing wrong with doing backups as long as you do it for the right reasons, for the right intention. I mean, I mean, if you have, like, for example, let's say you have an Action Comics and you have a backup issue where some building was destroyed during the main issue, but in the backup issue, Blue Devil shows up and he has to do some kind of rescue mission with one of the buildings that were destroyed in the main issue, which is kind of to generate some buzz for a possible Blue Devil miniseries or an ongoing title. That's the right reason, but you never charge the customer extra for it. Yeah, because it's supposed to be a test. It's an experiment. As soon as you start charging extra for it, you're saying this backup is worth just as much adjusted for the dollar amount as the main story, and most of them are not. And that's where they're going wrong, because they're charging extra.
Well, DC used to do that with Action Comics, Detective Comics. The price didn't go up, but they would cut the main story down by a few pages and put an 8-page backup, whether it was Atom or Aquaman or Green Arrow was the backup feature in Detective for years. That's a formula that works because the characters, become kind of part of the landscape, but you're not paying more for them, so it's you don't mind as much.
It's the minute you start asking for money for it, especially with these Z and sub Z level creatives that they put on many of these. Look, I'm sorry. Most of these backup stories are written by whatever editor's pet fucking project creator. Like a Tim Sheridan or who was the one that's Dan Didio's pet project, the terrible comedian that is
talking about no, he's talking about the guy that was working with Bendis, is David something.
David Walker.
Yes, there you go.
David F. Walker.
There was another one too. But regardless, these are it's people like Dan fucking Kibblesmith and Cena Grace. These clown writers that have never sold a fucking thing in their life, and now you're demanding $1 and forcing these fools on me for extra money in order to get the book that I actually want to buy. No, I'm sorry. No. In fact, I honestly believe that we should actively, just drop books that do this. To send a fucking message. You're not going to charge me money for fools that I won't pay money for just to get, because you think I'm going to do it because I'm buying something that I actually want. It's one thing if you give it to me for free. Fine. Maybe I'll accept it. Maybe I'll read it. Maybe I won't. The minute you ask me for money for it, for somebody that I wouldn't buy of my own volition, I'm not buying it as a required add-on.
And this topic actually plays into the main, this about the backups. It plays into the main topic that we're discussing, because there's a statement that David Zaslav made in one of his, I think it was his quarterly shareholder presentations, is he places high value on protecting the brand, right? Protecting the brand of DC. I remember him saying that specifically. So when it comes across to the customer base that you're just trying to find writers, your buddy writers' work by throwing in extra backup stories that nobody cares about that are terrible, and you're charging the customer extra for it, that goes directly to the brand reputation, the brand value. It starts to project an image that DC is just trying to milk their customers and not giving them anything of value in return. So that might be motivating part of why they were so eager to look at the finances sooner rather than later, because even though it's not necessarily going towards how do we make the comics a lot more profitable, which would be great for all of us, but maybe not necessarily the motivator behind that request, it does go towards cheapening and making DC sort of the Walmart brand compared to Marvel. Because it looks like they're trying to give you cheap junk at an unreasonable price, and that has reputational damage potential behind it. So that might be why they're looking at these things sooner rather than later, because even though it's not making money for them, the reverse could be true, where it could be harming that brand by unfair financial practices or consumer unfriendly financial practices.
Mm-hmm. Backup features aren't going to get me to buy a new comic book. If I want to buy Green Lantern, I want to buy Green Lantern, and I'm not buying it right now.
Apparently, there's no buying Green Lantern now. There's not even a book.
No, wow.
It's really strange what they've done with DC Comics, Gabe. Like, there's no Aquaman, there's no Green Arrow, there's no Green Lantern, there's no Justice League, but there's
barely have the Trinity.
Like 30 Batman titles, a couple of Supermans and a bunch of Wonder Woman stuff. But it's kind of strange, their strategy. A lot of times I don't even get what they're doing. Like, they'll have a character that's coming up on a big anniversary or something that's supposed to be important, and then they won't capitalize on anything. You've got the Black Adam movie coming out. Well, okay, let's do a Black Adam miniseries with Christopher Priest. Maybe people will get excited about that. Well, what are you going to do with that book? Well, we're going to kill him off and replace him with a new character. And it's like, is that...
Truly, I don't understand the strategy thinking between Marvel and DC. They're making similar mistakes. Is they want the synergy of having the comic out in the market at the same time as they have film property or TV show or whatever is the case, but the content of either one is they're normally just completely disconnected from each other. One's got nothing to do with the other than the fact of the title and the main characters in it.
Oh,
why
I know
they're doing
exactly
that?
why.
I don't know.
I do.
Well, I mean, I can hazard a very strong guess, but go ahead. Yeah, go ahead.
It's the exact same tactic they used with the comic characters whenever they changed them and just race, gender, sexuality swapped characters and slapped a new character that hit all their diversity checkbox on with the name and slapped the name of a valid character onto it. Made the character perfect with no conflict and wondered why it failed. They were trying to ride the coattails, thinking that the readership was too fucking retarded to not notice. And it's the exact same thing, except for now they're just taking it to another level. They're trying to add an extra step that has never proven to work, which is that movies bring in comic readers. There's still literally no proof of it. But they think that not only we'll have millions of people that we can dupe and think that they're too retarded to notice the difference between the movie they just saw and the comic book we're about to give them. It's like back in the 80s, whenever you'd walk into fucking Hills or Woolworth or some shit, and they'd have the generic versions of the G.I. Joes right next to the real G.I. Joes because they just wanted to dupe you into fucking buying their shit that wouldn't sell otherwise.
Oh yeah, Army Pete. Yeah.
And I agree with you. That's probably the motivation behind the tactic. However, exactly as you pointed out, it never works. It just never works. I mean, if David Zaslav, whoever came in and gave me a magic wand, says, do what you want, I would get DC as far away from Hollywood as possible. I would get them out of I would get them out of Burbank.
North Dakota is where they need to be.
I would get them away from Portland. I would get them away from Austin. I would get them away from Burbank. I would get them away from New York City. I would get them away from Miami, probably. Just somewhere quiet and out of the way, and say, just do your thing, make it good. And if
Stick them in Louisville, Kentucky.
Louisville, Kentucky.
Right, because it's all right, exactly. Because
I don't want them in my state.
What about Boston, Massachusetts? You can have all the shout out you want.
No, the other Eric.
Hey, yes.
Nobody
yes,
goes to Boston by choice. Nobody goes to Boston by choice.
I know, because the only thing wrong with Boston is Bostonians.
Hey,
excuse me, sir. We're called massholes.
I would get DC headquarters out of Burbank, get them as far away from Hollywood as possible. Go someplace quiet where the cost of living is better, someplace near an airport. So if they got to get on a plane and jump to somewhere, they can. But just get them out of the way and say, look, do your thing, because what the whole point of moving to the Burbank is to get them close to Hollywood, so that you can get that kind of that make the meetings easier and do all that thing. And that has proven to be a disaster, because Hollywood right now is a disaster. Mm-hmm. The last thing you want to do is tie yourself to Hollywood, where Hollywood is a mess, even bigger mess than DC. Get away from them. Get someplace where you can think, where you can look at the blue skies and the rainbows and let your imagination wander, watch the bunnies in the field and do whatever, and then come up with great ideas. Let your imagination flow. Do the whole thing.
Actually,
come up with great stories, and then let Hollywood come to you if they're interested in adopting your stuff, not the other way around, because that has proven to not work.
Actually, I think the problem is they're all suffering from carbon monoxide poisoning from being in LA and all the fucking smog. Yeah, just move them to the middle of the Midwest, Kansas. Buy a fucking farm in Kansas. Make that the home base. Hey, look, now you can actually breathe. Maybe your brain's going to start working again.
You want to send them to Smallville?
Do the early Disney model where you
farmer values.
Yes. We have the company with fucking Superman. Put him in Kansas.
We already know what happens when you raise Clark Kent in Siberia. Let's get
that should be the next Elseworld. Clark Kent lands in Hollywood and is raised up in California.
Clear out a Kansas cornfield. Clear out a Kansas
blasting people into oblivion for
build a DC Imagineering complex, and then you could build a superheroes amusement park right next to it.
We already saw that. They did it in Jupiter's Legacy, when all these kids ended up like basically cokehead whores in Hollywood.
Yeah.
I mean, that's where the whole problem of writing for Netflix comes from, is because they've tried to tie themselves so closely for film and whatever Hollywood is going on, and it just doesn't work because Hollywood doesn't know what they're doing. Get away from them. They're a bad influence. They're not helping you. You wind up with a bunch of Hollywood wannabe writers that are not going anywhere, and it's just making a mess. Get them away from Hollywood. You'll be better off.
Yeah. I mean,
and smash that like button, you losers.
Smash.
Makes a good point. He says, smash that like button. We're already over 80 likes. We got about 330 people live. I'm hoping that we hit 300 likes before this video is over. That would be amazing if we could get there. If we can get 300, maybe we can get Doc to go on an epic rant about something. I will find a subject.
Be like Ivan the Polish Hammer Polski and come off that top turnbuckle and just lay it down.
Does Doc need incentive
Polska
to go on one of his epic rants?
Yeah, but we'll throw him about. We'll find something, especially we'll get him fired up and lose his mind, and maybe we'll get demonetized at the end of the video.
And maybe he'll drop a rare F-bomb on the street.
Doc, you're at the Hellfire Gala 3, and you've been given the menu, and you have to order a soup appetizer.
And you're in a fabulous town.
I go home. I go home. First of all, I get off your fucking segregation island.
I'm getting back in charge of here. We do have some super chats from the viewers. Let's see what they have to say. Cal Lyle says, I could see Vita running to Jim Lee's office. Evil Cracker can make Vita cry. And Cal Lyle really he's on your toes. Keeps you on your toes. Thank you very much for supporting the channel. And if you would like to support the channel, obviously super chats are open. There's super stickers. I think there's a super thanks. You can go in the video description. There's a link to my coffee page. You can also get a Thinking Critical t-shirt, which Eric O'Sullivan has one. It looks great on it, by the way.
Great on me.
Absolutely.
Especially when I'm making soup for Doc.
Just think about me, not Doc.
My trash can really likes that soup.
Wolfstein 3D says, looking at Z's track record, Even before Warner, this is the least surprising development. He is known to turn around every single stone to assess a company and decide what to cut. And that's that's corporate business there. When you have a merger and you have takeovers and whatnot, you have to find out what's not working and what the inefficiencies are and where your redundancies are, and basically streamline the process as much as possible, Gabe, before you blow it up again and get all inefficient.
I think we talked about this like at the beginning of the year when the merger talk was starting to heat up a little bit. I'm less concerned about the financial picture because they have the numbers. They know what they are. I don't think it's any surprise. We don't see it from the outside, but they see it from the inside. The piece that when they start making this one piece change, not one piece of manga, this one change, that's when you need to start worrying for the people in DC. It's when they start adopting Discovery's HR policies. So I'm less concerned about the finances than I am with the HR, because if they're adapting Discovery's HR policies, things related to contracts, hiring, firing, performance plans, acceptable behavior policies, harassment policies, all that type of stuff, that's when you're going to start to see things get a little strange and maybe weird, because there's a whole lot of stuff going on within DC about how they hire people, how they fire people, how they make decisions about who they bring on versus who they take off, what they will tolerate and allow from Twitter tweeting policies and behavior towards colleagues and all that kind of stuff. That if they start adopting a more corporate stance on that, then DC is going to start going through some pretty serious changes. So I'm watching out for the HR changes more than I am for the financial changes, because that's where I could see things start to really take a different turn from where they are right now and have been for the last few years.
Very interesting perspective. Callum Lyle says, I want these people that did Charlie Amazons out. Diana and Nubia deserve better.
Yes. We agree.
No, you can't have them out. They're writing the 50th anniversary special.
Yes, the 50th anniversary. What do you think about that one, Drew? Nubia in the Justice League. Did you see that coming?
Oh, it's forced validation at this point. It's just doubling down at the blackjack table. It's terrible. And then the other thing is, this could have been a character. She could be well written. She could be, but she hasn't been by anyone. She's been written as a horrible one-dimensional character. But why go with her when you have Diana, Artemis, Cassie, Donna Troy, Hippolyta, Wonder Girl, and others? Why her? You have all these other Wonder Women to choose from. And
they've decided that's where they're going.
How are they celebrating her quote-unquote legacy when other more memorable characters haven't even been recognized yet for their legacies in DC, who've actually had several titles?
Because we forgot about the character for 45 years and then only started caring about her again 4 years ago. And so we totally need to, once again, the comic industry gaslighting itself and its readers. Like, they didn't forget about this chick for 45 fucking years and used her like 9 times in the interim. And now she's a big deal and has always been a big deal. And goddamn, you don't even think about trying to point out the fact that we forgot about her for 45 years. She was doing super important stuff. It just didn't happen on panel.
Well, and they also did it for simplicity's sake, because all they had to do was change 4 letters from Naomi to Nubia.
Yeah.
Dylan Lindsay says, unlike Disney, I don't think Warner Brothers Discovery is in a healthy enough position to continue operating at a loss. When you actually have to make money, the SJW screaming won't matter. So I don't believe Disney or DC Comics is operating at a loss. I think they're still profitable, not heavily profitable. I just think there's a substantial part of their publishing efforts in line that aren't profitable, but Batman kind of keeps everything above water, is the way I kind of understand it. But I think that's why they're asking these questions, Gabe, is because there are inefficiencies there. They're making decisions that aren't, good for the overall health of the company, and they aren't helping the bottom line, and they're going to make them fix it.
Yeah, it depends on how Zaslav wants to look at it. If he wants to look at it on a per title basis, that might be too granular to expect. But if he does look at it that way, yeah, you're going to get a lot of the line just cut off right off the bat. They're just definitely a loss. If he looks at it as titles in aggregate, it might be a wash. With Batman booing the remaining titles from with profit offsetting the loss. The third option,
they did inherit a lot of debt when they merged.
They did do that, and the third thing to look at it is he looking at it from the publishing, just publishing in isolation, or is he looking at it in the broader picture of it's publishing, which is part of licensing, which is T-shirts and lunch boxes and toys and towels and sheets and everything else, where he looks at it as one larger division. In that sense, sure, they are profitable, but most of that money is coming from merchandise that they sell in the stores. So, and if you say, well, the comics
if you
are just part of
merchandise,
that,
they're very profitable because the merchandise just for DC is like $1 billion annually.
Yeah. So if he's looking at it from that perspective, then you say, well, as long as they're making money, if they take a loss over here in this little corner, which is the actual comics, then I don't care as long as they're making money. That might be the way he looks at it.
Well, when Jim was acquired by, like when Wildstorm was acquired by DC, Jim had kind of worked out an agreement with parent company, because I think this was the agreement that DC already had with Warner, which is it doesn't matter if individual titles lose money as long as his line made money. That was the deal he had with keeping Wildstorm. That's the reason why Wildstorm was able to, continue existing for another 10 years after the acquisition, because even if individual titles lost money, as long as the company made a profit, they could keep operating independently. And I believe that's essentially the same agreement that DC had with Warner. Like, as long as we are making money, it doesn't matter if half of our books lose money, as long as the other half make it money. And each individual division, like, the licensing division, the film and game division, and the comic division, they all had to each be profitable. Mm-hmm. And I'm betting that that's what the situation is. They're not offsetting their comic losses with, their video game licensing or their T-shirts or lunch boxes, but they are offsetting for every, Nubia that doesn't sell. It's getting subsidized by Batman's profits.
So it depends on how granular
Zaslav has its own budget. The films have their own budget. The comic books have their own budget to work with. Kind of thing. It's not like because you make a ton of money on merchandising that cancels out any losses that you had somewhere else.
Exactly. You can't subsidize your comic. Yeah, you can't subsidize your comic division with your T-shirt licensing division. But Batman can subsidize, the female Furies.
Mm-hmm. I do want to say real quick, Shane Hollow, the Comic Book Clubhouse, is in. He said he just logged in, wants to know if we solved all the ills of the industry. We have not yet, but I do want to say Shane Hollow is creeping very close to 1,000 subscribers. Nice. If you haven't checked out his channel, he's a really good guy. Lots of really cool comic book unboxings. He's also like a grader. He works in a comic book shop, and you will see all types of like tips and stuff. So if you're a comic book collector and you haven't checked out Shane Hollow's channel, you are missing out. Definitely check that out. Let's see if we can get him over 1,000 subscribers. He's a really good guy. I believe his name is Duke. Really nice guy. I think he's in Maine or something like that. So wanted to point that one out. Thank you very much to Dill Lindsay for supporting the channel. Ideator says, backup stories feel like more of a distraction for unsuspecting customers to fill a book. The tonal change of art and story effectively in the book. Yeah, as soon as you get to that page where everything changes, I close it because it's not worth my time anymore.
Yep.
How could they make it work, Breen? You've been reading comic books for longer than I've been alive. Who did backup stories right?
I think DC did back when it was the same price formula with the 16/8 page division, because it gave you, and they would. I don't know how they do it now. I don't know if they just do like one character with a backup story and tell an arc, then switch it out.
That's basically what they do.
Yeah, Action Comics did that, but Detective kind of found a backup, like whether it was like they, in the 70s, they would rotate Batgirl and Robin, so it was the same feel because they were bad characters. Then the 80s, it was Green Arrow for several years. The Green Lantern was a backup in the Flash for a couple of years, and then spun him back off into his own title. So that's when it was done well. I don't know that Marvel ever really had that formula. I mean, they would do standard, 50-50 anthologies like Solo Avengers, but so I would say that the DC formula in the 70s probably worked the best.
Yeah.
But it has to be a character that you care about. And like to Doc's point earlier, not throwing a bone to someone that couldn't sell a comic on their own to save their life.
Or like something like GI Combat. Remember GI Combat? I mean, you had what, 3 different tales in that book? That was great because it wasn't all Haunted Tank. But Haunted Tank was the star.
Hey, Breen, Jimmy from Comic Works wants to know about the time when you heard Plato tell his backup story for Aristotle.
Yeah, what's with all these old jokes on Breen? Come on, guys. What's with all the old jokes? Come on, I'm feeling
Sonic
really bad
Hound
for
says
Jimmy hired a writer for that one. That wasn't bad.
I know.
at least they had the decency in the One Bad Day ads to say DC's top writers without saying they were actually good. Great show, gents. And I've heard it from sources, Gabe, that the One Bad Day books are actually going to get worse after the Tom King debut with Riddler.
I've already read some of them. Oh man, they're something.
Let's see. One of them is going to be Megan Fitzmartin, if I remember correctly.
On Batman One Bad Day.
Ooh.
Yeah. They got a Penguin one coming up. They got a Two-Face one coming up.
I believe
I'm not hearing great
Mr.
things.
Freeze or Dr. Freeze is going to be Jerry Duggan's DC Comics debut.
Well, he's got plenty of practice with X-Men Green, so I'm expecting that same level of tonality. If Tom King's offering is any indication, so we'll see how it goes. But I don't know. Okay, the argument that we had in the Weird Science Slack chat is understanding what was the purpose of the One Bad Day. Is it to figure out how to push Batman beyond his limit? Is it supposed to be I
think it's just knockoffs of Killing Time.
Or Killing Joke. Yeah, it could be a knockoff of a Killing Joke. I've also gotten the argument that it's supposed to be, this is how we elevate the villain. So this is really a villain story.
Mm-hmm.
And honestly, I'm not sure. And to be frank, I'm not sure DC knows either. I think they just wanted to try something and they're going for it. And if Tom King's offering is an indication,
that book was horrible.
I'm going to go back. Yeah, it was horrible. It was so depressing and so dour. And I legitimately
like watching the Human Centipede without any of the joy. You know what I mean?
Oh.
So I read the
Part two.
I read the Two-Face one. I read last night.
Uh-huh.
So it really is. It's more what Gabe kind of said. It's about putting someone else in a One Bad Day situation. What would One Bad Day do to them? So the Two-Face one, it's about Two-Face's dad. What would that do to him?
I legitimately received this comment, and I'm not going to say who it was, but I mean it was somebody whose opinion I respect. He said, "This is the first time I haven't liked Riddler this much because he stopped telling riddles."
Ah.
And I was like,
well, you never liked Riddler then.
That is not the hot take I ever expected to hear, but that's not his fault. That I'm not going to say his name, and again, it's somebody who I respect. But at the same time, that's the fault of DC, because now they're doing to the villains what they've already done to the heroes, which is twisting them and turning them and basically deconstructing them in such a way that the villain is not even recognizable anymore, other than generic Psycho number 3. And I don't know what you gain by that, because that's certainly, I'm going to go back to Zaslav's statement again. It's protect the brand.
Mm-hmm.
Watering down your characters, twisting them out of shape that they become unrecognizable is not protecting the brand. So I don't know what they're going with that, but it's not a good direction. And honestly, I wish they would stop. Just please stop.
Callum Lyle says, on the subject of hookers, leave
boy.
it to Chief Franklin to write all the disabled gay characters.
Hey, she is admittedly
She's being typecast, yes.
no.
She's
We know that
admittedly-
she's a sex worker, Doc.
Yeah.
That's the joke.
and typecast. Well,
we don't need
honestly,
to expand on that.
Honestly, I don't think she's been typecast. I think that's the only thing she writes. She chooses to write that.
It's her comfort zone. So
Maybe.
Yeah.
Cal Lyle, do you think Zaslav will yell at Jim Lee? No, I do not. I don't think that he's going to yell at him. Although they might be in a meeting together, because Jim Lee is like the czar of all things DC, not just comic books, but
I hope he
streaming
stays.
and movies and whatnot. But I think
very
he's not going to have that He's not going to have that power anymore.
He'll be on some 60-person every division head call, and each of them are going to have to explain something about what the fuck they're doing. And yeah, and essentially, but that's what DC's doing right now. I mean, well, I'm sorry, what Discovery's doing right now with looking into the books for everything is so that whenever they do have that 60-person all division head meeting, Zaslav can ask questions that he already knows some of the answers to and wants elaboration on, and that way none of the division heads can bullshit him.
Lane says, I've been watching Harley Quinn season 3, made poor Bruce looking like a hobo playing his guitar by the Metro with his Batman shirt and hat on. I'm sad.
He's got to
Why are you watching it? Jesus.
Yeah.
I've heard it's funny, but I don't know that I can't do it. You know what I mean?
It's raunchy, like crass sex joke funny. But imagine 3 seasons of that never ending.
Well, it sounds like Bruce Wayne is having a rough go of it.
He had one bad day.
One bad day, Harley Quinn, Bruce Wayne. Lane Kramer also says, Harley said hetero hell. Is that true, Gabe? Did she really say that?
Yeah, I think I did. That wasn't the last issue, I think, or the issue before that. I think, but I mean, there was just so much bad about that issue. I think my mind just went to a different place and tried to forget it. But yeah, that does sound familiar. I do believe she has said that.
Well, I believe DC Comics greenlight that one. Cal Lyle says, that's how I see Vita. I'm not apologizing. Cal Lyle, I would never ask you to apologize for anything. You be who you are. But there are some things I can't read aloud because you keep me on my toes, and I do appreciate that. Also, yes, behavior should be looked at. Remember, Mags, I can write Nubia, give her to B. Yeah, somebody could write. Anybody could do a better job on Nubia than what they're doing now. And that's not me trying to be rude to you. It's just they found the most untalented people possible. But everyone is responsible for their own behavior and are accountable to it to a degree, depending on your contracts and whatnot. And we saw what happened with Mags, and I think it looks like Vita probably has overstepped the line a couple of times. Calling your boss clearly a racist probably wasn't a great move.
And it's just a matter of time. Look, it's a matter of time before all of these weirdos just like burn their way, burn every bridge in the industry and work their way out. I mean, yes, they're just going to be replaced by little clones of themselves, but okay, we just keep. Maybe eventually somebody will watch everyone else go through the exact same career trajectory, end up basically broke, and realize, hey, at some point I might want to learn how to fucking write.
I think the who was it? Not the Kardashians, the one before that. Paris Hilton gave everyone an unfair expectation of what you could do to become famous.
Exactly. You just have to be the oldest daughter of a global hotel
you have to go and
magnate.
bank somebody and put it out on the internet. And like no one thinks bad about you. You're a celebrity. It's good.
Well, yes, but she also had to already had to be a multi-billion-dollar heir in order for that to work. And hot. None of the people in this conversation about these creators, I wouldn't want to see any of them naked.
Simmer down. Wolfskin 3D, Nubia at 50. Time works strongly when you don't have fun. Who would have thought she was 50? I think.
Yeah.
I didn't realize.
First appearance was in
1980. I thought it was in 1981.
Nubia's first appearance in
72.
Wonder Woman, Volume 1, number 204 of January 1973.
Oh, Breen, come on, man.
I'm reading for the wiki. He's got an advantage on me.
This is literally why we have you here, Breen. You lost
what the hell?
Well, he's taking my name. He's taking my gig.
No,
I guess I can go.
But it's interesting that we got a Nubia special and no Luke Cage special.
Well, yeah.
Anniversary.
I mean, 50 years in age, but how many years collectively in actual appearances in comics?
Like 5.
4?
Couple of them.
Maybe
Cal
5.
Weil says, one bad day is Tom King's fantasy he wants to do on his family.
Is Perch
It's,
hinting about Tom King? on
It's
his
Tom
videos?
King's therapy. It's
So just
therapy. I don't
premeditated
think
murder on
it's
his
therapy.
part for his family.
It's
Hey, Chris
God, it's a
Benoit.
soulless book.
There's
That
a
is
Chris
a soulless book, folks. Wayne Tech 10. We aren't talking about Chris Benoit, Doc.
I know.
Wayne
That's why I
Tech
said
10.
never mind.
Nothing matters to these creators. They can't be fired because of Twitter. Says they can ruin understreet. Well, they really can't be fired because they're not employees.
Right.
They're contractors, but their contracts can run out and they cannot be renewed. That is
Correct.
absolutely the case. But I don't think DC really has anybody exclusive anymore except for like a handful of people.
There wasn't Jasper Plan 9. He's right. There was a Nubia Mego back in the 70s. There was. She's been around. I mean that nicely.
Yeah, they tried to make her a thing. It didn't work, and then she got forgotten about for 45 years.
Mm-hmm.
That's literally. And then about 3, 4, 5 years ago, they decided to people would bring up a panel here or there from like her appearances in Wonder Woman back in the 70s.
Doc, we already talked about this.
Yeah.
What are we going back to Nubia for? We're talking about can they be fired? I don't think they can be fired. I think their contracts cannot be renewed. And certainly I think everyone's job is on the line right now when you have this big merger coming down. And Zaslav is cutting movies that he already spent $90 million on. I don't think that he's going to care about what the Twitter people say. You know what I'm saying?
But it always comes back to the same problem. It's the editors. I mean, we talk about the creators all the time, the writers and the artists and whoever else, and who deserves to have the job or not. But at the end of the day, the person who makes the selection about who is on a title or a particular issue at any given time, it's the editors,
and that's where
the mistake is chronically happening. And so until we either train better editors, hire better editors, or just get rid of the editors that we have, not much of that is going to change.
Actually, I think this is still on purpose. Look,
Doc, you don't have to chime in on everything, all right? I'm trying to get through these.
Go.
Now we're in. We've got up to 150 likes on the video. I'd like to kind of get to the next one. Wraith-X7, putting a popular, critically acclaimed creator on a book is no guaranteed said book will sell or be any good. It should be about the pitch concept, not the creator's name and past success. You are correct, because they did put Scott Snyder on that. What was the New Age of Heroes book they put him on, Breen? Lasted for 6 issues. The Challengers, the new Challengers.
I think, or was it the Immortals book or the Challengers?
No, I thought he was on the new Challengers. Immortal Men was another writer, but that didn't last very long. Even though he was a big name talent, so you do have to have good pitch. You have to have good concepts, Doc. But Doc, you don't think that's even what's going on right now? They're just kind of tanking everything.
No, it's not tanking. It's the continued overreaction to the last 30 years. All right, 30 years ago, you had the Image 7 that left Marvel, and went out, became their own thing, and Marvel started de-emphasizing. Well, initially, they didn't de-emphasize artists. They just like, okay, well, that was unfortunate. We'll build new superstars, and they started to. You started getting people like Brian Hitch and Joe Madureira and a few others, and then those guys immediately left too. And that's when Marvel and DC started de-emphasizing their artists and basically going for people that were good enough but would never be superstars and enough to like go and leave. And they started focusing on writers. Well, that was great. And we started getting a lot of, like, in the early 2000s, you started getting a lot of really big writer centric stories that we've been mining for, movies and TV and stuff over the last, decade. Well, the problem was all those writers were talented enough and became big enough that they fucking left too. Your Mark Millers, your Ed Brubakers, your Hickmans, and they all left too. So now Marvel and DC are both sitting there going, well, fuck, if we make any superstar, they'll leave us. So we just need to give them, we need to hire people that aren't talented enough to have career opportunities outside of comics. And that's what they've done. They've done it with artists and they've done it with writers. They're doing it as a means of self-preservation. Because is anyone in Hollywood going to hire Vita? Fuck no. Is anyone going to hire Jerry Duggan? Fuck no. Is anybody going to hire Dan Slott? Fuck no. But is anybody going to hire John Hickman? Yes. Is anybody going to hire Ed Brubaker? Yes. Is anybody going to hire Rick Remender? Yes.
All right, Doc, let's wrap her up, buddy.
So yeah, it's a means of self-preservation. Give us the absolute bare minimum with talent that does not have the ability to expand beyond our niche industry to something more mainstream and more financially viable.
Cal Lyle says T. Franklin is writing disabled gay Spider-Woman. That's absolutely correct. That's what is it? Sun Spider shooting webs with their walking sticks.
I'm going to take Doc's observation to make it worse. DC and Marvel are the.
No, he filibustered for 5 minutes. We're not doing that. If we get back to it, we get back to it, but we're not doing it right now.
I'm going to find a way to get back to it.
Forward. We'll
so
find a way to
worse.
get there.
I'm going to make it sound so much worse.
Larry Kramer, yes, Harley said that in episode 7. Bruce is not over Selena breaking up with him. Basically, it's Tom King, Bruce needing Catwoman times 100. They're out keying Tom King. Well, that is difficult. That does not sound enjoyable, Gabe, whatsoever. Are they all Tom King with the Batwoman Catwoman relationship and then being a pathetic cuck?
I think there are way too many writers that look at Tom King as the gold standard.
Yes,
that is happening way too much.
That's a good point.
And when you look at Tom King as the gold standard, so let me give you an example from a different writer that I think is worse, but doing similar things, which is Mark Russell.
Okay.
So if you look at One Star Squadron and his recent 10-page mega issue of Superman Space Age, it is those comics are dark, they're depressing, they're sort of emotionally cathartic in a why don't you go to group therapy kind of way. And when you read them, you're like, is he trying to copy Tom King just with his own sort of writing style? And I think Cantwell's another one. When you read that Iron Man run where he's basically constantly being berated by Hellcat, there's see these writers that have some level of skill, not necessarily talent, but at least skill. And it looks like they're figuring, well, if Tom King can get away with it, maybe I should do that too, because he still makes sales. And the books are just, it's just, it feels negative. You feel like you're covered in old motor oil by the time you're reading that stuff, and you just want to wash it away. So I think there's just way too many writers that look at Tom King as the success that they're chasing, and they just need to stop. They just need to stop. Because
who needs to stop? Jimmy from Comic Works. He says Mark Russell's great. Read the Flintstones.
How long ago was that? Like 5 years ago? Jesus.
So let's ban Comic Works forever and never discuss that again.
I would never ban him. I love Jimmy, but he's got the worst takes on comic books.
Yeah, that's what I want. I want a flaming gay snagglepuss. That's
what
I want. Yeah.
Stage right, Ethan. He was gay coded all that time, dude. He's pink.
Yeah, because he was pink, therefore gay coded.
No, he had the extended S too. He was like Paul Lind.
Jimmy, you're killing me with this.
He was popping and locking. Is that what you're saying? He was representing.
I think, yeah.
No, but he gets the rings on and the pinky goes up permanently, and that's all there is to it. So.
Roddy Boy Comics says, "Hey Wes and aficionados, just joined in. Hope everyone's having a great day. Question for the panel: what's your take on the new Iron Man series?"
Ooh, there's a new Iron Man series?
Think Marvel are out of good creators, and Jerry Duggan is probably the best that they can do right now. So it's better than Jason Aaron, I think.
Got it.
What do you think, Breen? You excited about Jerry Duggan Iron Man, Invincible Iron Man?
Yeah, and I'm excited about my next trip to the dentist. You're right. They're out of people that know how to write Tony Stark the way he should be written. But I guess that doesn't matter anymore, because by all means, give a book about a playboy to a 50-year-old morbidly obese virgin.
You're talking about Dan Slott and Jerry Duggan.
Right. No, and I said, and then it didn't get any better after that. Chris Cantwell, was terrible on him. I don't expect any better out of Jerry Duggan. So I said, I certainly won't be coming out of Iron retirement to check it out.
Mm-hmm.
We'll see what happens. Could be good. Juan Frigeri isn't a bad artist.
But they said they're going to deconstruct him again. He's going to be at rock bottom.
He's going to be at his
the
rock
master
bottom.
assassins.
Again?
The master assassins are going to be after him, but not Deathstroke. I mean, not what's his name, Taskmaster, because he's still wetting himself in a corner from his last encounter with Black Widow. But the other ones will be after him.
Yeah, the Jed McKay.
You know what Doc just said in the chats? He said, "I've been spanking Jimmy for over a year now."
Ooh.
That's all you need to say.
Kind of personal.
My goodness.
Iron Man is one of the ones. Yeah. No, I was just saying, Iron Man is one of the ones that I'm sorry, go ahead. I'm sorry, go ahead.
Hit it, Gabe.
No, I was going to say Iron Man is one of the ones that I understand the least because Robert Downey Jr. is not the original Tony Stark. He's not the same as Tony Stark, OG Tony Stark, and how he progressed going forward. But he's still a good model and a model that people like. Yeah. So if you're looking for a way to write Iron Man, just watch the Iron Man movies. Watch Robert Downey Jr. He may not be the OG, but he's one that people like. He's one that people can associate with, and he's fun. So just mimic that instead of trying to do your own thing, and you can't really go wrong with too many people.
Mr. DC Comics says, any thoughts on Jeff Johns returning to the Justice Society of America, and will Zaslav replace Jim Lee or Jeff Johns? So what are your thoughts on Justice Society of America, Drew? Are you excited for this? We've been waiting for 6 years.
I am excited for this. I really hope it's good. I really, truly do, because I loved the entire JSA run that Jeff Johns. I have all the on the buy into trades. Loved it. I really, truly hope it's good. I really do. As far as Jim, I don't think Jeff Johns is going to replace him with Jim Lee. It's not going to happen.
I don't think so either, because he's still doing a lot of the production on the DC stuff.
Yeah, and to be honest with you, what I would like, it probably won't happen, but I would just love to see Todd McFarlane just come in and just say he's going to license out all these characters, and he's just going to put everything down to $2.99 and then just have a bunch of kick-ass books.
I don't think Todd McFarlane's going to do that.
No, he probably won't. No,
he's got his toy line. He's one of the executives over at Image and stuff. So
yeah,
Spawn's probably bigger than it's ever been in the 20, 30 year history of the character.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Yeah. So I wouldn't see him doing that one. So I don't know. Maybe I think Jim Lee might just get a new job title, maybe a little bit of a downgrade as far as pay. We shall see. Cal Weil kind of backs that up with, does Jim Lee have Stockholm syndrome? No. When I was in the military, it's called ROAD, retired on active duty. And that's when a guy could see like the end of the tunnel. And he knew, I'm retired in 2 years anyway. I don't care anymore. I'm not looking. You can't make me. I think that's kind of what he's got. What do you think, Drew?
Yes. I as soon as you said that, I started busting because I knew quite a few people like that when I was in the Air Force. And he's checked out. He does not care.
Yeah, I think he's put his time in. He's left his mark. He's associated with the best-selling comic book in the history of the industry. He's also associated with many of the best-known X-Men comic books and Batman comics. He's made his mark on the industry. And I think he's going to ride it out and see what happens.
Yeah, he'll be like editor emeritus, kind of like Stan Lee. He's the spiritual inheritor to Stan Lee, who I think in legend, like 100 years from now, we should be saying that Stan Lee was Jim Lee's actual grandfather. Same last
I made
name.
a mistake. He meant Jimmy, not Jim Lee. He said Jim. I was like, he must be talking about Jim Lee. Does Jimmy have Stockholm syndrome? Breen, you know him better than I do. Does he have Stockholm syndrome? Is that why he's always talking up like who is it? He's always like Mark Russell, Jason Aaron, Brian Michael Bendis,
Steve Franklin, Vita. Yeah,
I don't think he likes those.
I think there's just a disconnect there. There's Jimmy, and there's Taste, and every time it gets close together, it goes like that.
The chasm between Jimmy and Good Taste in comic books. I don't know. We'll see. We'll have Jimmy
still
back
here
on the
for
channel.
me, Jimmy.
Jimmy's like John Hickman. He's a terrible evaluator of talent. Great person, but just cannot evaluate talent.
All right, Doc, let's talk about something that's actually more in your wheelhouse. Let's talk about the Fantastic Four. We got the word that Ryan North is actually taking over the Fantastic Four. I still can't believe it. That they couldn't find anyone better. There's got to be. Apparently,
Holy fucking shit!
Who's the lady writing Captain Marvel?
He's gone around the bend.
Kelly Thompson.
Is it Kelly
Apparently,
Thompson?
Kelly Thompson was not available for a Fantastic Four book, so they couldn't get anyone better.
Honestly,
Doc, I'm not done.
Go.
Let me finish. But we also had Dan Slott this week finish up his Fantastic Four run. He made a change to the thing where he's accepting who he is. He's a father now, and he doesn't want to change back into a human. I kind of like that. But he also dropped the bombshell, Joanna Jeffers, Reed Richards' long sister, on the laps of the readers on his way out the door. What do you think about the madness going on with Fantastic Four?
I think that Marvel now uses Alex Ross covers to sell what would otherwise be unsellable comic books.
Bingo.
Doc is right. Hashtag.
Whatever book Alex is doing covers for is a book that would bomb immeasurably. I mean, it would make Hiroshima look like a warm, sunny day at the beach, based on how bad the sales would be if it weren't for Alex Ross covers. That's it. They don't have any faith in this book because they know it. That's why they put Alex on the covers. Look, it's okay, fine. The Thing being good with being the Thing. All right, that's fine. I'm actually kind of okay with that. He's had, like, in Marvel's sliding timeline about 15 years now of adjustment to it.
Mm-hmm.
Now they can always backpedal on that in that he's just scared of the change.
Mm-hmm.
And he's scared that maybe Alicia might leave him, that he'll no longer be able to protect his family. They could do something cool with that it's not that he doesn't want to change back. It's that he's scared of what would happen and what he may lose if he does change back. So, yeah, go ahead.
No, to say real quick, Doc. So, unfortunately, in 60 years, everything that you mentioned has been done more than once with the Thing. So there are no more original ideas as far as, am I okay with being the Thing? Will Alicia still love me if I'm Ben Grimm? They've played both sides of that every which way there is. So I'm not going to criticize Slott on that take, because I said he's just doing there's nowhere else you can go with Ben in those regards, because I said it's whether it's Reed working on a formula all these years, he had a thing where he could change back and forth. I mean, they've done it all. So I mean, it's I said so. This actually, from what I understand in the context of the story, that actually worked.
Yeah. Now, Reed, Dan Slott doing the Reed as a sassy black sister that, Jesus fucking, how much more current year can you
Smarter.
Get? Yeah.
Yeah, she's smarter, better,
prettier.
Her heroism is more important than his, because she's looking at the tiny stuff that's below Reed that he doesn't think to look at. Jesus fucking Christ.
Doc,
if you could get more cliched than this shit, I would love it.
But that sounds like Reed being Reed too. He's super smart and just like doesn't have enough time in his head for like common sense in a way. Like every other genius I've ever met in my life, in a way.
Reed's out of the top 10 now, but he is still the smartest old white guy in the Marvel U.
Yeah. And then so now Ryan North. Oh
yeah, what else has this guy written? I'm not familiar with this.
He wrote the Untellable Squirrel Girl.
Oh God, really? Okay, this is all coming back to me now.
He's best known for doing dinosaur comics. Like the fucking comedy dinosaur comics.
Not the mama.
He has no, not like from that show. Watching it now has a better sense of humor than Ryan North does. If we thought Chip Zdarsky needed to lose his, be deported for how bad his comedy was, Ryan North needs to be exiled to a fucking boat in the middle of the ocean. He shouldn't be around people. He shouldn't, just make him the permanent, the first permanent settler in Antarctica. That's it. Even the Penguins would walk away from him because they'd be like, I don't even understand you, but you're annoying and you are not funny. He is just atrocious.
When Ryan when I saw the interview he gave and he made that shitty analogy to Star Trek from the 1960s, I like, dude, did you not realize Roddenberry shot it that way due to budgetary restrictions? It shows Ryan has zero imagination and zero creativity. And you can't be afraid to think bigger. He's only going smaller and dumber. I can't believe this.
Yeah. Now, like, he's not talking about going on, crazy science adventures. It doesn't have to be huge. It can just be crazy, wild science adventures. That's the point. And instead we're getting whatever fucking Roddenberry Star Trek knockoff bullshit he could come up with, and he thinks that this is clever.
Yeah, Fantastic Four on a budget. That's what this is.
Yeah, it's Fantastic Four on a Netflix budget. Like, not even like a good Netflix show budget. Like, honestly, like, oh, you know what? Fantastic Four, if it was shot for the Discovery Channel. That's what this would be. And it's going to have tiny set pieces. Everybody's going to probably be wearing, normal clothes all the time. There's going to be very little adventure. It's going to be mostly them sitting around. They're not going to be in the Baxter building anymore. Woo! Yay!
$20 says that Ben leaves Alicia for Johnny.
Yeah.
We'll go by that far.
It's gonna happen. Write it down.
Yeah, I could see Moon Girl and Moon Girl, Devil Dinosaur, and Unbeatable Squirrel Girl taking over the Fantastic Four.
The new Fantastic Four.
Yeah.
I mean, I think the problem here.
No, go.
It's the problem with the announcement from Ryan North that I find personally irritating, and I think there are other people that might feel the same way. It's not that you announce a writer on a property that for a changeover creative team because Dan Slott's run wasn't that great. It's how you get there. So if you look at Ryan North's trajectory through the Marvel titles, it was unbeatable, unsellable Squirrel Girl, which wasn't great.
Unsellable Squirrel,
which wasn't great. And then he hopped over and he did, I think it was a 4 or 5 issue mini Power Pack, which wasn't terrible, but it wasn't great either.
Mm-hmm.
And I think what people are seeing is you hopscotch from Squirrel Girl to Power Pack to all of a sudden getting Fantastic Four, which if they announce the movie details at D23 coming up, which I'm hearing is a rumor, there's going to all of a sudden be a lot of hype and excitement for Fantastic Four. So in your mind, you start to think, well, Fantastic Four was a big deal for Marvel because they've been one of those mainstay bedrock properties for 60 some odd years at this point.
Mm-hmm.
So that should be elevated as one of those things where you only put your best writers on your top titles. Fantastic Four should be one of those top titles.
Mm-hmm.
So how is it that you take a writer that went from Squirrel Girl to Power Pack and then all of a sudden put them on Fantastic Four, which should be one of your top titles at the time where they're about ready to announce the details of the movie, which is going to put hype through the roof? How did you figure out that Ryan North was the best person for that guy? So in your mind, you start to think, what is the vetting process for selecting the writers to put on these properties? We don't look at the writers, we look at the properties. Fantastic Four is an important property. It is an important property. It has been for decades. It is going to be an even more important property once you get past D23 if they announce the details for the movie. Why would you put somebody like Ryan North on one of the most important properties you're going to have for the next 2 to 4 years? And you think of that and you're like, they just put anybody on there because they think they can get away with it. And it feels like a general sense of, not disrespect, but just a lack of care for what they think is valuable. They just don't see it as valuable, so it doesn't matter to them. And so when them in this case being Marvel and editorial, and so when you see some of them taking somebody like a Ryan North and putting on Fantastic Four, it's like, oh, they care about the movie, they want people to generate a lot of hype, they want people to buy the comic, but then you put Ryan North on there. He did okay with Power Pack, which is you could say is like a kid version of Fantastic Four, but is it the Fantastic Four? It's not. in readers' minds, you look at the Fantastic Four, you think that's the type of property you have to earn your spot to warrant and qualify to write on the Fantastic Four.
Well, you used to look at the X Office. I mean,
Right.
X-Men used to be like the
It's the creme de la creme.
Yeah,
you have
you
to
need
put
to
your
earn
best people on the best
your
titles.
bones.
And then
know,
you look
yeah.
at that and you say, Ryan North, he didn't earn that spot. And then you look at it like, okay, so it's just clown show over there. They'll put anybody on anything just whenever they feel like it. And that's what gets irritating. Not so much that his writing style, but it doesn't, he doesn't in the reader's minds, and just at least for me, maybe others as well, he hasn't earned that spot. He hasn't earned the qualification to write for a Fantastic Four, because the Fantastic Four is the bedrock of Marvel just as much as Spider-Man and the Avengers and everybody else. He hasn't earned that spot. And until Marvel starts projecting that image of they put the best writers and the best creators on their best titles, it's always going to seem like, well, they just put anybody on anything and it doesn't matter.
He laughed the loudest at Tom Brevoort's jokes. That's how he got it.
That actually would not surprise me. It legitimately would not surprise me if they literally just didn't have anyone else.
That too, huh?
Yeah.
Maybe
it could be good. It could be good. We don't know.
Yeah,
but from Ryan North's history, I mean, it doesn't inspire hype.
No.
Well,
Gay, with what he said in the interview, I'm like, why should I be excited about this? This doesn't sound fun to me at all. I mean, I've been telling everyone, read the Alex Ross Fantastic Four graphic novel he did. It is fantastic. Everyone needs to check that out.
Okay.
What about Fantastic Four Life Story from Mark Russell?
Oh, Mark's a handful of sunshine with that one too.
Hey, look, it's Mark Russell writing another piece of shit. Surprise.
Oh no.
Jimmy liked
Even
it.
Jimmy had to admit that one was bad.
Oh.
No, like seriously, this is just going to end up as this is, I think, them attempting to make Ryan North a thing. Every one of their pet project writers, they've stuck on something that in an attempt to make them a thing. Donny Cates made Thanos into a viable property. And then what did they do to follow that up? Well, they stuck one of their pet projects on it, Tinny Howard. And they keep sticking Tinny Howard on these semi-important books until she just flames out and they have no choice but to accept these people can't fucking write. We need them gone, and let them go and make the same mistake at DC, because DC is just great at eating the leftover crust off Marvel's sandwich. So they keep doing it, and I believe this is their attempt to make Ryan North into a thing. Yeah, I mean, he has some fans. There's like 8 of them, but yes, technically he has some fans.
We got a fan.
Yeah,
you have fans too, though.
Doc has fans.
I'm pretty sure I have more. Yes, I'm pretty sure I have more fans than Ryan North.
I'm your fan.
I know. I know Jimmy is my fan.
Jimmy doesn't like you. He knows that you're a fool.
but no, like you're this is a combination of I'm fairly certain Ryan North has been one of the editorial's little pet projects. But this is their last big shot at making him a thing. If not, honestly, I don't understand why. I mean, okay, yeah, Chip Zdarsky, he's after doing 2-in-1. He went over and did, they didn't give him the FF gig.
Well, he's doing Batman now.
But he's doing
prestigious job in comic books. He probably doesn't have time for Fantastic
exactly. He doesn't have time for Fantastic Four because he's on Batman now. But give it to Al Ewing. His Ultimates proved that he could do it.
All right, Doc. We do have a super chat aimed directly at you. Jasper Plan 9 wants to know. He'd like to hear your take on bringing back WildCATS, written by Matthew Rosenberg. Cheers to the panel.
Look, I don't hate Matthew Rosenberg as much as some people do. I don't think he's very good.
He had like 8 good issues straight of X-Men there for a minute.
He did, and like he doesn't do irreparable damage to any property he's on.
Not Jason Aaron.
He's not Jason Aaron. No, nobody is as bad with doing irreparable harm to a property as Jason Aaron. That's literally the only thing he knows how to do. But so it's going to be set in the DCU, so it already has a lot going against it. Matthew Rosenberg, I think, is a middling comic book writer. He's not bad. He's not good. He's just.
They call him Rosenberg for a reason, Doc.
Yeah, he's not the most creative guy on the planet, but he's also not going to break your shit. That being said, it's set in the DCU, so I'm gonna give it a shot. But honestly, I haven't counted anything that DC has done with the Wildstorm characters since the end of the Wildstorm imprint as legitimate. None of those things count.
Good call. Jeez, bringing over those Wildstorm.
So you're a customer, but you're apprehensive, is what you're saying.
I'm saying I'll give it a shot because I do like the Wildstorm properties. I've hated every single instance of them used in the DCU. There's the possibility that he may do it well, but I doubt it. I just have sincere doubt.
I think, Drew, you're a bigger proponent of Rosenberg these days. I know you've enjoyed all the stuff at DC so far.
Yeah, I was just going to say, he's not, I wouldn't say he's great, but he can tell a fun story. I think he's honestly gotten a little better. I mean, I've enjoyed DC versus Vampires. I think that is the event right now at DC Comics. That has been a lot of fun. And I would
sign and outline that one, and he's just finishing it. His real book is Task Force Z.
Yes, that has been a lot of fun. I really enjoyed Task Force Z, and Eddie Barrow's art on that has been terrific too. Task Force Z has just been crazy. It's been crazy fun. What he's doing with Professor Bloom is hysterical. But yeah, he can tell a good story. I will say that he can.
Larry says he can start a good story. It just forgets to go anywhere.
In fairness, yeah, he's good at. He plateaus very quickly, and then he just maintains. It doesn't take you on a ride. I mean, it ain't Mr. Toad's Wild Fucking Ride. It ain't a roller coaster. It's you get on, and then it's the fucking what's the ride at the amusement parks where it's just like a Grand Prix, and you just ride around in an old car on a track, and it's flat. You don't go up hills. Yeah, I mean it's fun. I mean it's not fun. It's fine. It's an enjoyment. You get to go look at shit. Nothing really happens. There's no surprises.
The line's short.
And the line's short. Yeah. So, okay. Hey, it's a great way to waste 15 minutes.
So there you go. Jasper Play and Died. Lane Kramer says, this one's for you, Breed. JSA Princess of Darkness is one of the best villain team-up stories ever. It's about heroes and villains getting bleeped up and bleeping stuff up. Not like that hero-gasm Breen likes. What do you think about Princess of Darkness?
Well, it's Princess of Darkness, and I don't remember that story.
But you're the guy, Breen. You're the remember the story guy. Who remembers Princess of Darkness?
I do. It's terrific. Yeah,
there you go. Who wrote it?
It was Jeff Johns.
That's damn good then. You got Jeff Johns coming back on JSA. You should read that one, Braid. Get ready.
I'm sure I have. I've read 50,000 plus comics. Expect them all to stay on what's left of this.
If I ask you something about Millie the Model, like what happened in issue number 4, you would know.
Oh well, yeah, that's because I keep one handy at all times in case you ask.
Nice. Here we go.
And he just pulls out Millie the Model.
Boom.
I knew he's been reading it lately. My goodness. Ronnie Boy Comics says, let's hit that like button. Enjoy the show. I would appreciate that. Right now, we're over 180 likes. I'm hoping we can get to 300. If we do, I'll find something especially juicy and let Doc lose his mind on it. If we don't get there, we'll try next week. But it looks like we're definitely going to go over 200. Thank you to everyone that's given us a little thumbs up action on here. And definitely support the show. Let everyone else know that we're having a good time. Cal Miles says, I think that half-sister of Reed Richards was based on Reva from Obi-Wan, because that's all I saw. Slott just being himself as usual. I didn't watch the Obi-Wan show, Gabe. Is there similarities?
Maybe.
She has the Force. Does Reed's sister doesn't she?
Does she have any powers? Does she have any powers?
Reva in the Obi-Wan series is basically she was a
Sith
Jedi
apprentice.
Padawan that went bad.
Yeah.
So she has Force abilities. The problem with her character, well, there was a lot of problems with her character, but if you take Reva out of that show, it almost makes no difference. If you take her character and just excise her from the entire plot, it makes almost no difference to where they start and where they finish. So she
does have something in common with Joanna Jeffers. She didn't really have nothing to do with that comic either.
Exactly. And I think if you're looking for similarities, that's the biggest one, is introducing that Reed's half-sister makes no difference to the plot of the story. And unless you tell me you're going to do something big with her in the future, her introduction is pointless. So I just don't care. And so if you never show her again, it makes no difference whatsoever. And I think that, unfortunately, that's where a lot of these things are coming up. I mean, there's been a whole bunch of noise about handy-capable Spider-Man and the Spider-Verse coming up and all these other things that are coming up. These characters will show up. They'll last for an issue, maybe two. They'll go away, and you'll never see them again. It's all derivative.
There's already a handicapped Spider-Man. His name's Flash Thompson.
Yep. And that's a better story, too.
Yeah, that's actually a really good story.
Yep.
A wounded
Common
warrior,
sense
getting the ability to ply his trade again. It's wonderful.
He's a military veteran, doesn't count.
Oh, hey.
Eric,
Yep.
who do you prefer, Peter Parker's sister or Reed's sister?
Ooh, Peter Parker has a sister?
Yeah,
Exactly.
I know, exactly.
Run, right?
I heard about that. I mean, that was a rumor that came and went. Like, did that have any traction? Did it have any impact
that was in
on
Peter
this?
Parker's Spectacular Spider-Man, wasn't it?
How long ago was
Silk.
that?
I think it was Silk, wasn't
5
it?
years ago.
Damn.
No, Silk is
Cindy
just,
Moon's
Cindy
dating
Moon is
character.
she just got bit by the same spider, so she's a
Yeah.
spiritual sister.
Yeah, this is his actual sister.
I was going to say it can't be his actual sister
Times are-
because they was fucking.
I miss Ezekiel at this point. He can go around and winnow out all the mini spiders.
Now, you guys are talking about Cindy
I don't
Moon.
think
This is
anyone
a different
prefers
one.
either one. It's too many long lost sisters in the Marvel Comics universe.
Maybe Reed's sister has something to do with about corporate syzygy, and maybe she'll be a character in Wakanda forever, and this is how we're going to dovetail the new Fantastic Four.
I figured it was just corporate scissoring.
Yeah.
Wow.
Cal
Should we
Lyle
listen
says,
to
let's
that?
turn Richards into a Hoosier. There you go. A Hoosier, like
Hoser.
Indiana?
Hoser?
What?
A Hoser?
Hey.
That's some fucking
That's some
Boston
Canadian
talk, right?
No, that's some Canadian up there.
It's
Oh.
making fun
Hey,
of.
hosehead.
Yeah.
A Hoser?
Hoser, eh?
Boston's
Hey,
pretty
you
much in
hoser.
Canada.
Hey,
You
you
can
hoser.
drive right,
Hey, take off your hoser.
the
Hey,
border's right there.
and don't drink all my beer, eh?
Next thing you know, Reed Richards is going to be wearing flannel.
He should. He
Fucking
deserves
talking
it.
about hockey.
Yeah, he deserves to have a traumatic brain. He deserves to have like traumatic brain injury and be dumbed down a little bit.
Blade Kramer. Hero battle. Elongated Man versus Mr. Fantastic. Villain bonus. Spider-Man.
Ooh.
White Rabbit versus Batman. White Rabbit. Who wins? Elongated Man versus Mr. Fantastic. It's got to be Mr. Fantastic, right, Doc?
Hey,
Yes, because they have essentially the same power sets. Reed's a lot smarter. The end.
Yeah.
Yeah, the smart guy wins.
And Reed just has to wait till the gin gold wears off.
that's a good call. Yeah.
All right, that one was easy. What about this one, Breen? Who wins, Spider-Man White Rabbit or Batman White Rabbit?
I'm just gonna say Spider-Man White Rabbit because I don't remember Batman White Rabbit. I think that came after I stopped reading. So
You stopped reading Batman?
off and on, yeah, I'm not reading it now. I've read it sporadically for years.
There you go. It's Spider-Man. He's the big winner. Anybody else got any thoughts on Spider-Man White Rabbit versus Batman White Rabbit?
Spider-Man White Rabbit will probably win because she's more vicious. She's just short of crazy, so she's probably got the edge on that one.
There you go. Gal Lyle says, also the writer for She-Hulk admitted she doesn't like John Byrne's run and that writing a mob hit in blood transfusion was too hard to write. Sounds about right, doesn't it, Drew? Doesn't like the best run in the character history?
It's mind-blowing, just the laziness, the uncreativity between Ryan North and the writers for John Byrne's, writer for She-Hulk on TV. It's like I can't believe this.
Every time they do an interview on Adventures in Poor Taste with a new X-Men writer, they go, "What were your inspirations for this?" And it's like, X-Men X3: The Last Stand. It's the best X-Men story I've ever read. And it's like, oh, this is going nowhere good.
Yeah, it's a bunch of people that don't like the things. They like that things exist, and they like that they were made popular. They don't like the reasons that they were popular, the people that they are popular with, or any of the people that worked on it to make it popular. So they look at it because it's nothing but an opportunity. Hey, here is a piece of culture, of pop culture. Let me take it and wear it as a fucking skin suit. That's what it comes down to every single time.
Well, She-Hulk is a lot of people that this show's being done for are the people that when the Daily Beast, I think it was, wrote the article and criticized the show for ripping off the fourth wall breaking from Fleabag, that those people didn't know to question that as being wrong. So in that vein, it's not surprising that, the showrunner or whoever it was didn't like Byrne's run, probably didn't read it.
That's probably, yeah.
Burns is a known misogynist anyway. I wouldn't have read it either. Probably a good move on her part.
You're a good man, Wes.
Only, yeah. I mean,
stunning and brave, Wes.
Stunning and brave.
Absolutely. Sigma Comics. We got H.H. German in the house. Shout outs from Canada Fan Expo, eh?
Yeah.
Hoser?
There you go. Where's that?
To thanking critical and support these great comic book experts. Gabe's seal of approval is the industry gold standard. If everyone in comics worked half as hard as he does, there'd be a true sea change.
Nice.
My goodness, that's a high praise for you, Gabe. Like he's pretty.
Well, I appreciate that. Kind words indeed. Kind words indeed. And I seek to do my best to be one of the best reviewers around, and hopefully that trend will continue. If
you are one of our fans from up north of the border, you're going to be at the Canada Fan Expo. Definitely go seek out HH and the team from Sigma Comics. You'll have a good time, and he'll likely get you to buy one of his comic books because he's got a good pitch there. So, thank you so much for supporting the channel, and I'm glad that Gabe finally got to review the comic book. And congratulations! What was it? It was an 8 out of 10, right, Gabe?
Oh, I think so. Yeah.
Gabe once got accused of being a jerk because his ratings were so low. Stephanie Phillips.
Yeah, but if you look
at it, better than Stephanie Phillips, Harley Quinn? That's the big question.
By leaps and bounds, because at least HH is doing something with the character that honestly I've never seen before. So, take that for you. You got to read the review to find out why I say that. But at least he's taking the character and he's trying to do something with the character. Stephanie Phillips right now, if you read the weekly weekly arc that's going on, the Task Force XX where she's out in space, doing nothing. Harley's now a background character in her own title.
By the way, they need to do the threequel Task Force XXX, and it just be all porn.
All right,
easy, Axel Braun.
This is what we really need to do. Okay. Jimmy says we need to take a minute and recognize Eric's smile. It's just intoxicating.
Aw, thank you. I work on it. I go to my dentist.
Do you do like smile exercises? How do you do that?
I spend enough time being miserable, knowing that being happy is a conscious choice, and it's better up here. The view is much better when you take your head out of your ass.
Well, you're from Boston. I'd be miserable too.
You know what? I love being from here because when I was a kid, we had something called the Patsies, and I would rather be called, a cheater than a patsy because both were wrong.
I know nobody wanted to be a Pats fan back then.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, geez, we all were though around here.
Well, and they still cheat, so it's okay.
I consider it adjusting. That you're
paying attention to Eric's intoxicating smile, and he was doing this. Were you driving or were you milking a cow?
Milking a cow. Adjust.
Very nice.
Adjust.
So,
Yeah.
We got Cal Lyle and her saying that says more about her. And women can't write superhero shows. She uses She-Hulk as a self-insert because she hates men. I don't know if all women can't write superhero shows, but I don't know. I'd probably have to do a little bit more research on that one.
I think it's not made for us. I think it's Marvel is using things like Fleabag and then most especially Sex in the City to appeal to that, to women. You know what I mean? And women watch a lot of televised content. I mean, I believe
they watch a lot of Discovery Plus. My wife watches all the extreme couponing. She loves my 600-pound life. What else does she like? 30-Day Fiance.
Yeah,
90 Day.
Like what about like Netflix shows that you would never touch, like the vampire movies and like werewolf people and just like these immortal people. Like I've known so many chicks that just like are gaga for these shows. But it's like
we don't use that kind of offensive language around here. You're saying chicks? What are you, some type of misogynist?
Chicks and dudes, man, and anyone in between.
I am.
That's the chick.
Yep.
Yeah, I'm not going to pick on.
I meant misogynist, but okay.
Eric, you said something that I really dislike, and it's not directed at you because I've heard it because I've heard it lots of other places. That phrase that it's not meant for you.
Yeah,
I hate that phrase. I hate that phrase.
I'm a comic book reader. If the comic book isn't meant for me, who's it meant for?
Because it's too often it's meant as a shield to excuse bad storytelling.
Uh-huh.
Like, so if you tell me good stories are for everybody, everybody likes a good story. You may not like the style, you may not like the theme, or you may not like the sort of the more ancillary pieces to it. But a good story, everybody likes a good story. And too often I hear people use that as an excuse to justify valid criticism, to excuse poor research, to excuse bad plot structure, narrative, and everything else. Again, I'm not picking on you when I say that, but when I hear that you don't like She-Hulk because it's not meant for you, I think in this particular case, it's also too often used as a shield to deflect valid criticism, and I hate when people use that. Not directed at you, but I
love to.
It wasn't supposed to be for me.
To converse.
All women.
It was supposed to be for everyone.
Yeah, well, a good story. It works when it appeals to the demographics that it wasn't aimed at also.
Yes.
You know what? You know what that proves? That women like bad stories.
Doc, you like to walk to remember, so that's enough for us. You know what I mean?
And Doc, that's how you're walking through life, isn't it?
No, it says, hey, look, we made it for women. Women just like bad shit.
Cal Lyle says because that's we're on the next one. My bad. I don't think that the She-Hulk writer has read a She-Hulk comic in general, and Ryan North of Fantastic Four. I'll give it a chance at least.
Sure.
Yeah.
Could be good. It could be good.
Could be good. He does have Ivan Coelho as the artist, and he's a very, very good artist. Although I normally think of him as like a horror artist, Gabe.
Yeah. I don't like Jason Aaron on the Avengers, but his King Conan run was good. So maybe he's just sometimes you get that. Sometimes certain writers are good just for certain properties.
Yeah, like
they're not always a good fit for everything. So this could wind up being the magic fit that Ryan North never knew he needed.
Wasn't Duggan good on Deadpool?
Yeah, it's okay.
No. He was good when Brian Posehn was his co-writer and could do jokes for him.
Okay.
Brian Posehn with Moon Knight. He sucks in everything else.
Yes.
Savage Avengers was good from Jerry Duggan. Savage Sword of Conan was really good.
Yeah.
I got an image title from him once. The Infinite Horizon. It was a modern retelling of Homer's The Odyssey, and that was pretty decent with all that Phil Noto art. I love that stuff.
Oh my goodness! Don't say Phil Noto art. We've around Doc. He'll go on a rant. You know what I mean?
We'll take this outside, Doc.
Pastel baby leg bullshit.
Hey, we're not to 300 likes yet. You don't get to do that one.
That's true.
That's it. That's it. That was the end.
Cal, I'm sorry I missed when he says that's the show. It's just anti-male Karen screaming. The saddest thing, I wanted the show to be good.
We all do. Yeah.
Is it that bad? Is She-Hulk that bad, Gabe? Have you watched it?
No, yeah, I'm up to speed. I'm watching, taking notes, and everything else. It is. it's partially good, it's partially bad. There are when the moments that are bad hit, they're really bad, and some of the moments that hit are good. I like I like the actor, Tatiana Maslany. I like her.
Yeah.
She's charming. She's got personality. I like her. I think some of the story elements don't work. Some do. It's very uneven. So I mean, it's got. So I'd put it like it's again. It's not wholly. Some people go overboard. They're like, this is the worst thing ever, and it's woke garbage, and it's anti. It's not that far bad. If anything else, the thing that I dislike the most is the poor treatment of Hulk, and how they just sort of denigrate him to kind of sort of a punchline to somebody else's joke. And I think the Hulk is too important for that. He's too big a player in the Marvel universe for that. And to sort of treat him kind of like just like a sidekick in a show of that caliber, I just find distasteful. But it's not. I mean, it's okay. It's sort of middle ground. I'd put it on par with Ms. Marvel. I think I've seen some of those ratings that suggest that. I think it's about on par with that. Some things work, some things don't. It's just a little bit uneven.
There we go. Cal Lyle says, and sooner they'll make Marvel or She-Hulk Tamp. He's the best. This guy's always getting me.
Well, why would you laugh? But if I look at my Twitter feed for some reason, because I've made a few She-Hulk comments, I'm all of a sudden getting these ads for like makeup, like nail polish and eyeshadow and everything else that have the She-Hulk brand on it. Like somehow Marvel got into a marketing deal with a makeup company, and all of a sudden that stuff's showing up. So
you know what happened to me on Facebook? You know, I'm in Asia, so a lot of the products that are being advertised to me on Facebook are actually like from China and stuff. I don't know what they're thinking, but they advertised to me boy panties.
What? What?
They were boxer briefs, but they called them boy panties. And I don't think so. I'm like,
I can't buy that just out of sheer principle.
Well, the problem was they were.
I wear boxer briefs.
They were like sheer. You could see through it.
Oh,
it was like strange.
Those are.
Is there a local brand called Fruit of the Lady Boy? Is that how that works?
It just threw me off.
That's Thailand, not
the hell of boy panties.
Same difference.
Never mind. Like,
please tell me that. Please tell me 22K West isn't going to model one in a thumbnail.
If I'm modeling boy panties, it's going to be for my wife, but I don't even think she's going to get that kind of treatment.
Hey, if Wes hits 30,000 subs this year, he'll wear the boy panties for community
but there'll be no
post.
proof because I would never put it on the internet. You can see through them. You can see my twig and giggleberries. You know what I mean?
Well, you can put a sticker over that.
You just have to get up out the chair and just walk to the door and back once.
The chances of me hitting 30K before the end of the year.
I know that's why.
It's something I guess I could make the promise.
I'm incentivizing the fuck out of it. You heard it right here.
Nobody wants to see that, Doc. People are going to unsubscribe just to make sure it doesn't happen.
You heard it here first. If Wes gets to 30K by the end of the year, he's going to wear Fruit of the Lady Boy boy panties.
Oh wait, hold on. I got a better one. If Wes gets to 30K before the end of the year, he won't wear sheer boy panties and post it on the group.
That's more incentivizing. Yes, that's a positive outcome instead of a negative outcome.
Hey, and everybody in the chat, you have to send me 20. You have to super chat Wes $5, or I will send you naked pictures of myself.
Oh God. Get out of here. Thank you very much.
There's the first super chat.
I missed that one. I'm sorry. Kenneth was saying something, and Doc got me so off track, and boy panties. Hey, fellas, I slept in late, and I'm trying to save some money, but I wanted to contribute. Mr. Fantastic wins, of course. Well, thank you so much for supporting the channel. I understand saving money. We are in a tumultuous time as far as the finances and everything going on. Lots of inflation, but I appreciate you joining us. Glad you got to sleep in on this Saturday, and you've definitely contributed quite a bit to the channel, and you've roughly helped get us where we are today, Kenneth. So I thank you very much, and I hope you enjoy what we're doing, and absolutely fantastic for the win. Good call, that one. Ideator says, She-Hulk is fine. A lot of criticism seems like Schadenfreude, MGTOW buzzwords, and bad actors. All CGI isn't perfect, never was. Excuses for content.
The CGI cracks. The quality of the CGI in this last episode was a little bit more obvious. He's right that a lot of folks are going horrible scores, way overboard, a lot of Schadenfreude type stuff, but the CGI is a bit weak, especially when you saw like when she was doing things with her hands, like holding a drink, it looked pretty poor. So there's some validity to that critique.
As far as the excuses for content, I kind of understand that. Sometimes you got to amplify your opinion just to stand out in the crowd. And She-Hulk was definitely upsetting people, and it was definitely going to draw some views. So I'm not surprised that kind of is happening. And I don't know. I haven't checked it out. I just wasn't interested in the show. I was watching all the Marvel stuff on Disney Plus.
Yeah.
But it's like whatever. At this point.
I passed on that. I passed on Moon Knight, and I passed on Miss Marvel. I have no interest in any of them.
Well, she's an incredible actress, so anybody that watched Orphan Black, I mean, she was fantastic in that.
Yeah, I like.
I loved her. Yeah, I loved
Orphan
Orphan Black, but once I started seeing stuff from this, I'm like, ugh, this looks
Wes
terrible.
always goes commando. I want to see Wes wear boy panties. I just don't want to see it. Or I want Wes to wear boy panties. I just don't want to see it. Exactly. Man, my goodness, that thing went boy panties.
Boy panties.
General Ballsack, fantastic name.
Okay,
that's as good as Albino Thunderbuns. Like that guy had the best. Top 3 comic characters for the panel. Mine are. I'm going to go with Nightwing. I'm going to go with Hal Jordan. Oh man, these things kind of are a little bit fluid, but I'll go with. Oh my goodness. Who's the guy from G.I. Joe, the ninja guy, the night
Snake Eyes.
Snake Eyes. Snake Eyes will be number 3. Who's your top 3, Breen? 3 characters.
Yeah, terribly unimaginative. Superman, Spider-Man, and Batman.
Mm-hmm.
Very nice.
Holy
The real
diversity,
Trinity.
Batman.
What about you, Sultan of Soup? Who are your top 3 characters?
Robin, Dick Grayson, or even Jason Todd. I like the classic outfit. I love, a Bronze Age baby.
You like the Daisy Dukes on the little boy?
I like the pixie boots, dude. Yeah.
You liked his boy panties.
No, I mean, there's something about the color combination and the contrast of Batman plus Dick Grayson's attitude. I grew up with Casey Kasem and Burt Ward. So love Robin, love Green Lantern, regardless of who it is. I love Guy Gardner the best in a way. I do love Kyle Rayner. And over in Marvel,
that, Wes?
Yeah, it's okay to like Kyle Rayner. You know?
No,
what I
he's
mean?
talking about Guy Gardner, the biggest meathead in fucking comics. I don't like.
He is a meathead, yeah. I mean, and that's kind of why I like him, because he is. I like that whole the Justice League thing of the late 80s there. When he got punched, and then he had the personality flip. That was like he went from heel to baby.
He got knocked the fuck out.
He got knocked the fuck out. One punch. I missed it.
He deserved it.
That isn't what caused the personality change. He bumped his head.
Yes, when he looked for the ring. Yeah. But I think he got softened up.
Drew, what are your top 3 characters?
Yeah. Batman, Miracle Man, and Swamp Thing.
Very good. Doc, Wolverine, Cyclops, and Jean Grey?
No, actually, Spider-Man, Grifter,
nice,
and Wolverine.
Ooh. Very good. Last but not least, we do have Gabe. Who are your top 3?
Like Bree said, it is fluid, but I'm going to go with by combination of their abilities, their moral character, and their origin story. I'm going to go with Superman. I'm going to go with Firestorm.
Nice.
And I'm going to go with Nightcrawler.
Very nice.
I love Nightcrawler.
So, Breen, somebody is talking crap about you. Yule Carter said old timers, obviously disparaging you and your character, hated Guy bumping his head.
No, I loved it.
Wow. Were you not an old timer then?
Yule doesn't have a whole lot of room to talk, for starters.
Uh-oh. Whoa, Yule is a little bit,
he's not as old as me, but he's not exactly minty fresh either. But no, I said that was a great storyline. I said that's what kind of made Guy fun, was because he was so over the top after that.
Common Sense says Hulk is leaving in the She-Hulk show, and people think that leads to MCU adaptation of Planet Hulk. Hulk's son Scar, MCU can't live up to 22 movies. They can't make a Planet Hulk movie due to the agreements that are in place. They can put Hulk in movies as like an ensemble cast, but they cannot make a standalone Hulk movie. That's why they try to incorporate parts of Planet Hulk into that Thor movie when he went Ragnarok.
Yeah, so I think it's gonna more of a Secret Wars tie-in or something they're going to do.
Yeah. But they actually can't do Planet Hulk, unfortunately.
Yeah, in the last episode of She-Hulk, if you haven't seen it, there's a quick scene where you see Hulk flying off into space on I think it's on a Kree ship.
Mm-hmm.
So he's headed off to somewhere, but they never really explain where he's going.
Well, that'll be the second time he's done that in the MCU. Callum says Tatiana set her Instagram account to private.
That's unfortunate.
People probably bothering her.
Come on, God, she's an actress. She doesn't write the scripts. She doesn't direct the stuff. That's not cool. Don't beat up on the person who's just saying the lines and dressing up. That's not cool. Don't do that.
Mm.
Yeah, probably getting a lot of hate there. Kenneth Dowling says, on the She-Hulk showrunner. Doesn't surprise me. WandaVision showrunner didn't know about comics either. I find this irritating. Why is Feige hiring these people? I think Feige is like the head creative guy, and he's just kind of doing what Marvel Comics do. He knows the story, and then he just hires someone to write it for him or to execute it as far as a showrunner.
Well, there's a simple answer for that.
Do it.
You hire the people to give you the most mass appeal, because the last people that you want to make something specifically for are comic book fans, because they will nitpick anything to death. So you're going for mass audiences. So they just need to get the basics right. I said the person said that they didn't know comics that did WandaVision. Well, WandaVision was a very entertaining show.
Yeah.
Because it wasn't, because you have to reach more than comic book fans, because if you didn't, comic books would sell in the millions instead of the thousands.
Very nice. Kenneth Dowling says his top three are Batman, Spider-Man, and Black Panther. Almost went all chalk there, Kenneth. My goodness. Very good. Cal Miles says top three characters that aren't in the big two: Exo Manowar, Conan, Snake Eyes. That's very easy for me. What about you, Breen?
Nexus, John Sable. Oh, geez. Third one. I'm just blanking on this because I just answered this question for Bats the other day on Indie Books, and it wasn't Badger, but when it pops back into my head, I'll shout it out.
Very nice. Doc, what about you? You don't read any comics. Do you have three characters outside of the big two? Doc is God. What was I thinking? Drew, how about you?
Hunter Rose Grundle, I would say. Nexus. I love Nexus. And Airboy.
Airboy, thank you. That was mine.
Oh, my goodness. Great minds think alike. Eric O'Sullivan, is one of yours Pikachu?
Maybe. It is. Don't shock me. I would just say Carl from The Walking Dead, especially by the end of the book. I've loved his journey because it was all about Carl. And then, yeah. Anyone else? Like a Mage. That's from back in the day. Love that comic book.
All right, Gabe, what about you, sir?
Well, that's a tough one because there's a lot. I would say in recent years would be Spawn, just because that's an interesting way to kind of blend superheroes with the supernatural. If you're going back further, maybe a toss-up between Green Hornet and the Shadow. I like that. I like the classic pulp stuff. And then building on that one a little bit, a public domain character that's sort of also in that same vein, but a little bit different is Black Terror.
Very nice. That one's in Project Superheroes.
My third would be Garfield, to be honest. I loved Garfield growing up. It's a comic character.
Everyone likes lasagna, right?
I mean,
Everybody
everyone
loves
hates
lasagna.
Mondays and loves lasagna. And I grew up with nose deep in those Jim Davis rectangle books. So, I mean, that's an honest answer. I loved Garfield growing up. Yeah.
I agree with you, sir. Cal Wild, no. Tom King touched Guy Gardner, and look what happened. Supposedly he's not done with him.
He's ice cubes. He's ice cubes right now.
Yeah, he got murdered. My goodness. Calvin continued what Kenneth said. Feige has white guilt. I don't know Feige like that. Maybe he does.
Maybe.
Beyond me.
That's his thing. Ooh, dread.
He's in charge. He's been successful so far, but it looks like it's trending downhill. We'll see what happens there.
But now it's like the law of diminishing returns. He's been at the helm all this time, and just
Comic Quirks' favorite character is that fat girl from Bitch Planet. Very well done, Jimmy. Well played, sir.
Very well.
What else do we got in here? We got a couple of things that we could hit. Do we want to do the Nubia thing, or we do want to do Mr. Sinister?
Mr. Sinister. Ooh.
Nubia.
Doc's not even here. Let's go.
Doc's not even here. Yeah.
Yeah.
So we've got Nubia hitting her 50th anniversary. They're going to celebrate the character. They haven't done anything for Hawkman, the Atom. They haven't done anything for quite a few characters out there. Blue Beetle is another one that kind of comes to mind, but they're celebrating her. She's going to be leading the Justice League, but it's the same writers, Gabe. That's the big problem with all of this. Once again, it's Clunrad, Michael Conrad, Becky Cloonan, with Stephanie Williams attached to it, and they can't sell any of these comic books yet. They keep going back to this well. When will the madness stop when it comes to Nubia?
Okay, I want to draw a very careful line here. So the careful line is we have to distinguish between poor sales because for whatever reason they didn't get the marketing, or they like Venditti on Hawkman. That was a great story, great run, great character, but it never really got the sales. But I don't think it's a fault. I think that was just due to lack of marketing and word of mouth, and for whatever reason, and that's just the way it is. Clunrad and Stephanie Williams, not Stephanie Phillips, Stephanie Williams on Wonder Woman has been a disaster. Those books have just been awful. I mean, the writing is genuinely awful, and there's nobody fault for that except the editorial team and the writing team. So when you come along and you say Nubia's going to get a 50th anniversary special, which doesn't make a whole lot. Well, I mean, it's technically correct, but at the same time, why give this character a 50th anniversary special when, as we already pointed out earlier, the sum total of her experience in issues and on the page has been less than 5 years? I mean, this is not an ongoing character. She was recently resurrected or revived within the lineup only within the last couple of years. So it seems strange right off the bat. Second, if you're going to tout this as a big deal, why would you put the writers on the book who have demonstrated over the last, really since Future State, which is about a year and a half at this point, that they can't write a successful Wonder Woman story? They just can't. They don't know what they're doing with the character. Why would you put that same writing team on what you are touting as something that's supposed to be an important book? It doesn't make sense. The only way the sense that it makes is they were there, they were cheap, and it was convenient, which to me says they don't consider this a big deal. They're saying it's a big deal, but they're not treating it like a big deal. So it's just lip service.
Well, they're not.
It'll be forgettable.
They're not treating it like it's a big deal. It's a big deal to Twitter. Yeah. It's a big deal. And so what did they do? They got writers that Twitter likes. And that's fine. Now, don't try to fucking lie to me and tell me that it's an actual big deal, because it's not. If it was, you'd put on creators that, I don't know, have sold literally anything, and you would have not pretended like you didn't ignore her for 45 years. So yeah, this is a combination of making a book for Twitter with creators that Twitter likes and claims are great, then with a character that Twitter likes and claims is great and claims matters and claims has legacy, when we all know that they don't. Not the character doesn't, the writers don't. And because, and it just so happens that character, that those writers, that creative team is fucking cheap because they don't sell anything and they can't ask for more money. It's just, and to be perfectly honest, they don't have anybody else. There's nobody else. When's the last time Wonder Woman actually sold? Greg Rucka? And even then,
Azzarello
a little. Azzarello and Rucka, I guess, would probably be it. But even then,
How long ago was that?
Was it even a top 25 book? Like on the regular? I don't think so. I hate to tell you, I hate to break it to you. Like in the cultural sphere, Wonder Woman is as big as Superman and Batman and Spider-Man. In sales, it has never been above regularly. It's on par with Iron Man. And that's what it is. And now you have a knockoff version of it with bad creators. Look, this is just the best that they can do.
I mean, if I was taking a cynical look at it from a financial point of view, the way it looks is they have X amount of dollars to get that book made, including variant cover artists and everything else. But they have to spend so much money on the variant covers that they have almost nothing left for the writing team. So they just get whoever they can get with the money that's left over. So it almost feels like the writing team is an afterthought as long as they can get all the variant cover artists so that they can push their variant schemes on the comic shops.
Well, there's another problem with Wonder Woman. Due to the new unwritten rules in comics, there are only two groups of people that are allowed to write a Wonder Woman comic. And right now, there's nobody from either of those two groups with a proven track record of selling comics. Hell, there's not that many people with a proven record left anywhere.
Of any group.
Maybe if you want to see if you could actually get a Wonder Woman that could crack the top 25, put Jeff Johns on it. Promote the hell out of it. But that's never going to happen because he has both things going against him for why he would not be allowed to write. And until that changes, Wonder Woman is doomed to lead off the second 200 on the sales charts.
In case anyone's curious, Wonder Woman #1 during the Rebirth was in the top 10 back in 2016 for GM. That was last time.
Yeah.
But she was, during Rebirth, that Wonder Woman series, I think it was by James Robinson, was typically within the top 100, top 50.
Yeah, that was in the 30s, the issues in the 30s into the early 40s. And then, but he was the last.
Or it was Rucka at first, wasn't it? And then it was Robinson.
Yeah, Rucka. But, if I'm not mistaken, James Robinson was the last straight male to write the character on a regular basis.
I think he just came out as bi. I'm not sure.
If not, he'll do it next week. You're being funny.
I'm being funny.
Okay, don't take that one to heart.
Well, I mean, if you want to find a writer who might be available who kind of fits some of the the qualifications as they've become about Eve Ewing.
I think she's doing the Marvel stuff. She's doing the photon thing.
But if she's not on exclusive contract, maybe she could put in a few issues.
Yeah,
she's a writer. She's a decent writer.
Yeah, but remember, she's already graduated from doing ongoings, so she's doing miniseries now. And her next step is she hasn't reached the level yet of graduating miniseries to one shots. That's why Clune Red and Stephanie Williams are on this, because they've already graduated, because they've successfully conquered ongoings, so they get to try miniseries, to get to try one shots, to get to try no work at all, and see if they can sell 1 million copies of nothing.
I mean, what's Marjorie Liu doing? I mean, wouldn't she be a good fit for Wonder Woman?
She's busy actually doing Hollywood stuff.
Really? Oh, cool. Good for her.
It feels like the character is just not going to be all that relevant until they put a little bit of TLC behind the character, recognize what's going to be working out. But I just think the whole kind of DC universe is busted right now. I don't think the Omniverse has worked out. Future State was a bust. Infinite Frontier didn't work out for really any characters. It's really only Batman and kind of Batman stuff. There are some, associated titles kind of around it that are working. I think Dark Knights of Steel has kind of been a hit. Flashpoint Beyond, but for the most part, their in continuity stuff just isn't really working out for them very well, which is unfortunate. But they do have a crisis going on, and it sounds like the Jeff Johns JSA stuff is tying into that and spitting out of Dark Crisis. So there's a good chance that in December and January we're going to start finding out like a new direction, perhaps, for DC Comics following all of this.
Well, what's crazy, Wes, is that I've read the upcoming issue for Flashpoint Beyond, Batman Flashpoint Beyond. It ties into the Dark Crisis on Infinite Earths. This pretty much it takes place after Dark Crisis on Infinite Earths, as they have like Mr. Terrific on a talk show explaining the whole crisis, what happened and how he survived. It's like, wait a minute, are you kidding me now?
So they talked about the ending of the event?
Yes.
Oh, gee, really?
Yes.
Oh, gosh.
That's weird.
Here's
So
the
now they're
JSA
using-
reveal in
they're
Dark
letting-
Crisis number 3.
They're letting the comic spoil itself now.
Good.
Yeah.
All
Not
right,
the first time that's happened. That's not the first time that's happened.
I know. I
Even
mean,
this year, that's happened multiple
yeah,
times.
it's still retarded.
Yeah.
But okay, sure. Why the fuck not?
I mean, back on the topic, I have no problem with Nubia. The way it feels, DC's trying to push Nubia the way Marvel's trying to push Sam Wilson as Captain America.
Mm-hmm.
It's the same thing. It's a mantle
But
swap.
Sam Wilson
It's a
as
fetch.
Falcon can carry like a miniseries or maybe even an
Yes.
ongoing title. I don't know that Nubia can.
Except for
There's just not-
Sam has.
She might be able to carry like a one shot or a miniseries as Nubia, not as Diana, because Diana's still running around as Wonder Woman. She didn't go anywhere. She died, but now she's back. So now you have
Died again.
Died again, but it's Dark Crisis.
Comic book
Whatever.
Look, Nubia is Fetch, and Fetch ain't gonna fucking happen.
Fetch ain't gonna happen.
Well, I
Stop
think
trying to make
Nubia
that
could happen. I just don't think the way they're doing it. And I just don't think that Sam Wilson's like a good comparison because he's like established. Like,
Yeah,
they're-
but people still reject him constantly as Captain America.
yeah, but I'm just saying that he's an established character with a lot of history. Like Nubia's been there off and on, but not really like a steady presence.
Yeah, she doesn't have the presence that Sam Wilson does as Falcon, but it's the same mentality of trying to push it as a mantle swap and then bringing that character to the front, even though the person they're taking the mantle over from is still running around in a sort of capacities. I mean,
Well, they did that with their mom too. It's like she was doing Wonder Woman.
but at least they're sort of halfway there. I mean, if they wanted to do it right, what they should have done is Hippolyta's dead. She's now ascended to the gods of Olympus. That was the one shot that just came out, which wasn't great. What they should have done is take Diana Prince, elevate her to the new queen of Themyscira. So now has control over Amazons, and maybe she's dealing with the different tribes from Bonham McDowell and whatever else. And then Nubia can step in to take Diana's place in the Justice League. So she now becomes part of the group that's dealing with global threats and intergalactic threats. But Diana now has her place dealing with supernatural threats that involve the gods and all the different Amazons and dealing with all that. There was a line of succession that they could have followed. They just didn't do it. They went halfway, and now it just looks like a sloppy mess.
Much as a lot of these comics these days, we do have a few super chats to get through. Kenneth Allen says the Marvel shows on Netflix on Daredevil, Jessica Jones, Luke Cage were all better than the Disney Plus, and Jeff Loeb was the head guy.
Yep.
Who actually knows comics.
There you go. Nailed
Well,
it.
I'm not sure about Iron Fist, though. That was
He didn't include Iron Fist. I think
Okay,
but that's also Jeff Loeb. That's also Jeff
So
Loeb. And Jeff Loeb
he's-
was also the Inhumans, too, which was
Yeah.
not good.
Yeah, so Jeff Loeb, okay, for Netflix, he had a 75%, or he was batting 750. And for ABC, he struck out. Okay.
I think there's
Look,
a lot
I'm
of
sorry.
on that human stuff. I think the plans were changing. It was supposed to be a movie first.
It was supposed to be a movie. It was, and Vin Diesel was actually cast as Black Bolt because he wasn't going to speak because he's speaking as Groot. That's the whole point.
And they went super cheap, and they did all kinds of things. It was a mess.
And they cut Medusa's fucking hair off in the first episode, so they didn't have to spend money on CGI to make her hair move around. Look, everything they could have done wrong with that Inhuman show, they did. But even then, Jeff Loeb, because he was on basically the strictest possible fucking budget for that show, he had a better budget on his Netflix shows, and that's saying something. Considering that Inhumans actually did go to theaters for like a weekend.
Josh McDonald, who is not here with us, he had some work to do. He says, "Good morning, all. Got off work to hear Wes talking about wearing mesh main panties. I'm not wearing them. They were advertised to me, and I don't know why. That was the thing. But I did wear them. He says, I almost wrecked my car. Hit the like button." Well, there you go. Thank you very much for supporting the channel, Josh. And definitely hit the like button. I think we're over 220 right now. I don't think we're going to hit 300, so Maybe we'll get a Doc Mini Rant in there, but we're definitely not going to hit the 300 goal. But thank you to everyone for supporting the channel. We've been over 300 live viewers almost the entire time. That is absolutely fantastic, and we got a lot of likes in there. A lot of people are going to enjoy this video later. And Josh, I can't wait for you to come back, but I think Eric might be replacing you on an interim basis. We'll see what happens there.
Oh my goodness.
Goblin Sense, Adam, Ray Palmer, and Ryan Choi should have an anniversary special, Hawkman and Hawkgirl too. There are news of Wasp anniversary with Jane and Nadia. Nadia's dubbed. They are definitely doing a Wasp anniversary. I talked about that one, or that one's in the ticker and stuff. But there are so many characters that really, I don't know, Drew warranted like an anniversary special. Then it's like, we're celebrating Nubia. It's like, you set a precedence that you don't celebrate important characters, but we're going with this one.
It's and for lack of a better term, it's insulting really to these characters and their legacies. Like nothing for Hawkman, nothing for hell, fucking Elongated Man. I can see one being for Elongated Man. Nothing for Dr. Light. And just
Martian Manhunter, I'm pretty sure they skipped.
Yeah,
Blue Meter, Booster Gold.
Yeah, so many exactly. So many characters have been more visualized, who've been more prevalent in the DC universe than Nubia. It's like, really? Are you kidding me now? There makes zero sense.
Wasn't Shazam's 80th like? Wasn't he night?
Would have been the same year as Superman, right?
No, I think he was a couple of years after.
40.
Yeah, that would have been 2 years ago, and they didn't do fuck all for that.
Right.
Nope.
No, you're right. Doc is right.
God, don't say stuff like that.
Sorry, Wes.
Goblin says the reason I said Nadia is dumb is because in Miss Marvel Beyond the Limit issue 3, Nadia can't tell which Kamala is the real one. Real one in Snow Globe, while the fake one is not even trying to pretend to be the real one. Did anyone read Miss Marvel Beyond the Limit?
Nope.
No.
I didn't read that one. Sorry, Common Sense, but I'll take your word for it. What was that, Breen?
I said, "Huh?
You read it?
No."
Very nice. Freaking old timers like Breed. Kenneth Dowling says, I agree with Breed on Wonder Woman. I believe her history. She can be an A-list character and carry 2 titles. Let's put your boy Venditti on it. Venditti deserves a lot more work, and he certainly could do a character like that. Dan Abnett would be good. There's so many things that they could do with the character, Braden, and she is an A-lister, but she does not sell like an A-lister because she doesn't get treated like one.
Well, the reason why I didn't say Venditti and I said Jeff Johns is because, unfortunately, Venditti also, in Gabe brought it up, as great as Hawkman was, I'm not sure it ever sold more than 30,000 an issue. And
just on the first one, yes.
Yeah. Now, if you wanted to, I think with Wonder Woman, you would have to put somebody like a Jeff Johns on it and build it up, then hand it off to a Venditti when the audience is built in and people can go, holy crap, we've been missing out on this guy all this time. Because it's something, because unfortunately, I don't know why DC's never given Venditti a Superman or a Batman title.
They gave him Superman for very short, for like 5 issues.
But it was a side project, and they did the Superman 78, and I know he did some things that started off digital. But I mean, I'm talking about like one of the 2 titles, because he's certainly as good a writer as comics has to offer today, certainly working for the big 2.
He has no name, though.
I know.
Sorry.
That's unfortunate.
Well, you got to build that stuff up, Doc.
I understand that, but he has to do it through sales. And it ends up kind of in a vicious cycle. He doesn't have sales because he doesn't have a name. He doesn't have a name because he doesn't have sales.
Chip Scorchum was that for a while.
Yeah. And eventually
needs the big break.
Exactly. They need luck. And
well, I think it's opportunity. You need the opportunity to write a big character and see if it's accepted.
Look, he has the opportunities. He's been getting the opportunities, and he's still getting the opportunities. He needs the luck that something.
Really, what's he writing right now, Doc?
Actually, I don't know.
He's not writing anything.
Okay. All right, fine. So
he hasn't really written anything for DC Comics other than that Superman 78 miniseries in like over a year. About 18 months. It's crazy.
Right now, the only guarantees you have in comics is if you get Batman, not Detective, or Amazing Spider-Man, not Spectacular, because the adjective of Spider-Man and then the Batman title, those will sell no matter who you have writing it. That's been proven. And if you put Venditti on one of those titles, I don't know if it would carry over, but it would certainly increase his name recognition.
Cal Miles says, I set my Nubia story in Gateway City. I'm still trying to work on her villains. I'm trying to make a Kingpin villain for her. The Kingpin villain in the DC universe is called Blockbuster. And he's in Bloodhaven right now.
Yeah, that's Nightwing's guy right now. Yep.
Yeah, he's basically the Kingpin of the DC Comics universe. He's actually a pretty good character. I wish they'd do more with him.
I thought Tarantula killed him or something.
No, everyone dies and comes back.
That's just true.
I think there's been 3 versions of Blockbuster, actually. 3 different characters playing him. Callum also says, my version is Diana's sister, but they have 2 different moms, but they have the same dad as Zeus, and she's trained by her, but knows there's only one Wonder Woman. So you completely establish a separate identity.
No, I think the bigger problem with Wonder Woman in general is everybody's saying, well, she doesn't have a big rogues gallery. She doesn't have a good rogues gallery. She doesn't have a name recognition of villains. I think it goes deeper than that. The problem with Wonder Woman in general is Wonder Woman doesn't really have a strong place in a world with a Superman.
Yeah.
There's nothing that Superman, there's nothing a woman can do that Superman can't do and do better, to quote the song, sorry. So I think you might be better served if you try and use Wonder Woman and twist her presence to focus on something else, primarily with like magic or the supernatural realm.
Yeah, the dark, the dark Justice League stuff, the Justice League Dark, where she was fighting all the mystical stuff.
Superman is vulnerable to magic. That is his weak spot. So it makes perfect sense that you take Wonder Woman and have her focus on the realm of the gods or the underworld. Have her stand in that breach, much like the kind of the dark, whatever that door is, the door that's on Themyscira that leads to the underworld. But have her do adventures facing
Doom's
off
doorway?
against more gods, building out a whole realm of threats that come from the supernatural world, and just have her focus on that. I think you'll have a much better time of dealing with it than trying to give her basically knockoffs or B-list, C-list. Why is Dr. Psycho still a villain? He's just a small guy with an inferiority complex. Why is that? Why is he such a big? It doesn't make sense. So if you want to give her something to do, give her something that is definitely not going to fall in Superman's wheelhouse, and you'll have a much broader creative field to deal with.
Peter Tomasi told a story like that in that Wonder Woman Black and Gold, where she had to go through the underworld to save her friend, and it was amazing.
Yeah, but you can bring those threats into our world and then have her deal with them.
Gal Miles says, I even came up with the Muses of Themyscira, which is Cassie, Donna, and Nubia. She doesn't get along with Martian Girl and Jackson Hyde. Doing a little bit of
Jackson Hyde is his own set of problems. So
yeah.
Well, it feels like Cal Miles thinking more about Wonder Woman and the mythology and how to use the pieces on the board more than like the writers of Wonder Woman and Nubia. And that's the problem, really. So
I'd like to see them bring Wonder Woman back to like that Golden Age sensibility, like hanging out with Etta Candy and the Holiday Girls. And you can have this diverse cast of college girls, independent, strong, brave women, on their way in life and getting into these dangerous situations. And she gets saved by their friend Diana or even Nubia and or even Yara Flor, but bring it back to have and bondage. Thank you, Doc.
I would have her fall in love with a vampire that sparkles.
Yeah, but still, I mean, I think that would be more about the Holiday Girls. I think that's such an undervalued part of Wonder Woman's mythos is that she's getting into these adventures.
You know what Etta Candy is right now, right? She's a sergeant in the army.
Yeah.
Or something stupid.
Overweight sergeant in the army.
Yeah, she's a fat black
she's
sergeant
always been
in the army.
Body positive, individual. Round girls need love.
Yeah, but being in the army, it's actually hard to be fat.
Yeah.
It really
is. She's not just in the army. She was good enough to be elevated to a special operations unit.
Yeah.
But you already have that in Amanda Waller. I mean, so
that's what we're gonna talk about.
Isn't that like a body positive woman
She's
of color
not
already
military.
covered?
Was Waller ever in the military?
Maybe came from it.
Nah. She's an
executive.
Bureaucrat.
Yeah.
But what do they do? Try to mash up Steve Trevor and Etta Candy over the since Rebirth or something?
It doesn't matter. It's an inconsequential character.
Kenneth Dowling says, good point on Venditti, Breen, because Breen is always right. Johns is probably the biggest name in comics among its best. Definitely one of the biggest names among DC comics, that's for certain. So I think that's going to wind us down. We're almost at the 2.5 hour mark. I want to say thank you to everybody for supporting the channel. We got another one. Oh, Cal Lyle. There's even a Wonder Woman event idea with the Norse gods are trying to retake the world, and Thor would be the villain with red hair.
Yes.
But Wonder Woman just went up against Thor in the Clunrad run, and the Norse gods. And
Wasn't there also like when the world turned into ice?
Oh, that one?
what was it? Endless Winter?
Oh, yes.
Was that the event from last year?
Yeah, 3 years ago.
Not good.
2 years ago?
No, it was last year.
It was like
Wow.
right at the end of the year before Future State happened.
It was
Like right
the
after Death Metal?
beginning. It was the end of 2021. That's how
Yeah.
fucking fast everything is gone, and how much it's already fucking forgettable.
Yeah. So
It wasn't good.
It wasn't good.
It can be done though. It only makes sense.
It's up there with Peter Parker's sister. Like, what?
General
Just like-
Ball
just like everything-
says,
Yeah,
Being
but just like
back
everything
in
else with
the army does
DC,
suck.
you have to have a vision. You have to have a strategy. And right now, DC doesn't have that.
all right, Gabe, you were going to do a rant apparently. That I
Oh,
stopped
okay. No, it wasn't a rant. It was an analogy. It was going to make things sound worse. So that was keying off of something that Doc said earlier. Is right now I'm starting to see DC and Marvel look like the McDonald's and the Burger King of the comic industry. They want to hire top chefs that are going to create the best meals that everybody's going to love. But all they do is they bring in these high school age kids that are just flipping burgers and doing a terrible job of it. And what happens is when they find somebody who actually knows how to flip a burger, make a burger, and then make a decent meal, they leave and they go to a top restaurant making soup with Mr. Eric O'Sullivan. And because they can't retain anybody, they wind up hiring people that are come from halfway houses and work release programs. So that's your analogy right there. DC and Marvel are the Burger King and the McDonald's of the writing industry. So how's that for an
Yeah,
analogy?
they need to be the Sonic. They need to aim higher, get some good onion rings on the menu,
Or the
get
check
some cherry limeade.
Whataburger.
Whataburger.
Need to be
Five
Culver's.
Guys. They got to be the Five
Besides
Guys.
the chicken strips, Whataburgers, balls.
Yeah.
Ugh, my goodness. Kenneth Dowling.
Oh, you shut your whore mouth.
Wow.
Kenneth says on that villain fight earlier. I don't know White Rabbit, but you did Superman versus Batman. You chose Batman. Without prep, I got Spidey with Batman.
Hey, you know what? There's also an additional extension of of Gabe's burger flipping analogy. It's a bunch of people that also believe that the job that they have should pay them a living wage when it has you require absolutely no skill to be there.
Right.
All right. Well, let's end it on that note. Well, Bill Lindsay, great show as usual. Hope everyone has a great week. And thanks to you, buddy. And thanks to everyone for supporting the channel. And I hope you have a great week as well. We're having a lot of fun here. Let's talk about some comic books that are worth recommending. Eric Breen, you are reading all the new comic books. What do you recommend this week?
Oh, so many new comics. So yeah, I read the first issue of Parker Girls, the new Terry Moore book. I like that, so I will go with that as my recommendation for this week.
Very nice. I love Culver's and Arby's. People are
Culver's
talking about
pretty
fast
good.
food now.
What's that?
Fast food aficionados.
Apparently.
We started the show out with Eric talking about making soup or some shit.
All right, Breed. People love you. They love you. They want to see you outside of my channel. Where else can they find you? Because you do frequent other YouTube channels.
I do really bad comic book readings on the Geeky Puppet Show.
Mm-hmm.
So if you want to hear me monologue, tune in. And I do the 4-Color Fossils on the Graphic Man channel every Wednesday at 8. It's basically, it's like a Shanghala video, only with a bunch of old people showing the books instead of one guy. And there's the Saturday night auctions on I Love Comics, Eglinton's channel, and then there's the retrospectives I do with you, and I think that covers it.
My goodness, you have enough stuff going on for your own channel. When are you going to do your own channel, Breen? Oh, you have your own channel. You do a video a year. I forgot. Did he freeze? He might.
Yeah, I'm about due for my every 6-month video also.
Gal says, lastly, the She-Hulk writer said the bathroom scene was important. Spoiler, there's a trans character.
It was. I could see that it wasn't obvious from the scene which one it was. I think I know which one it was, but if it was supposed to be important, you would never get that importance from actually watching it.
Well, I guess they missed the mark on that one. Gabe, what comic books are you recommending this week?
Actually, I have 4 recommendations, and they're all from the indie side of things. Nothing from Marvel and DC. It was a week, and it's going to be a week coming up as well. I'm going to recommend Nottingham #10 from Mad Cave Studios. That ends the second arc, and they were kind enough to to use my social media publishing of the review to announce that there will be a third arc coming, and it is coming. So
Nice.
so it's not over and done with. The next one I'm going to recommend is Gun Honey Blood for Blood #1. That's a next arc in the Gun Honey series, which is sort of like crime thriller with a little bit of sauciness on the side. That it's actually a better start to this second arc than the first arc overall, which I like the first arc, so they're even getting better, so which is good. It's sort of crime thriller stuff. The third one I'm going to recommend is Good Boy Volume 2 #4, which ends the second arc, and it's kind of a tearjerker. They put some big hard hitting ugly man tears in the last couple pages there, so that was great. And that's from Source Point Press, and the Gun Honey was from Titan. And the last one I'm going to recommend is Nook #3, also from Source Point Press. It puts an end to the World War II era ghost story, which I liked a lot. The art's a little subpar, very indie kind of loose style, but it was a very effective ghost story. I liked it a lot. And the third issue, which is the final issue in that story, really puts a nice capper on it, and it kind of keeps you hanging on to the very last page to find out what happens to the little girl at the end. So 4 recommendations there for your reading enjoyment.
If people want to read your review of Here Comes Calico, where can they find it?
Also, yes, go to comicalopinions.com. I do have a review for Here Comes Calico #1, just published this week. So if you want to know my thoughts on that and find out how it went and what worked, what didn't, and everything in between, please go to comicalopinions.com, and you can find that there. You can also see I also am a contributor for Weird Science, for both for Marvel and for DC. So check out Weird Science Marvel Comics and Weird Science DC Comics to read those reviews, as well as reviews from others as well. 100% shill free. 100%.
Very nice. And I do want to say out there, I think AL had her 24th wedding anniversary this past week, and I hope everything went well.
Congratulations.
And that's awesome. Eric, what are you recommending this week?
Me, I am going to be with Gabe, and I'm recommending Here Comes Calico. I picked this up. HH German gave me 5 issues. I tried to pay him, and he was having none of that. I met him at the Fan Expo Boston from 2 weeks ago, and I picked up a hell of a case of con crud, but I picked up a couple of funny books. So this is really good. I was really surprised with the art. I'm looking forward to Gabe's review, and I read issue 1 just the other day, and I'll be reading the rest during the week. It is pretty violent. I was unexpected. I like the art. I like the $2.99 price point, and I like the paper quality that went with it too. It's just a nice comic book. And also, I picked this up at Fan Expo last 2 weekends ago, but I got Frank Miller to sign my copy of Daredevil 175 along with Klaus Johnson as well. I got Klaus to sign this back in April. I got Frank to sign this 2 weeks ago. And when I gave this to him, there was a line ahead of me and behind me. He talked to me for 2 minutes about this. He knew exactly where he was when he drew this cover, and he was sharing this wonderful story with me just for a minute. It was awesome.
I wanted to ask, how's Frank looking?
He's looking pretty frail. He's about 60. He is literally 65 years old.
Yeah, I know
and
that.
He looks at least 10 years older than that. But he had bright eyes and a firm voice.
Okay, so he is then looking a little better than he was. That was more my concern, because I know there was a period where he was looking terrible.
Yes.
And then I saw him a few months ago when he was looking better. I mean, he's obviously never going to start looking younger. But I just wanted to make sure he didn't backslide.
He had a sly grin when I asked him if there's any more Dark Knight Returns coming, and he said, "We'll see." So he didn't say no. Nice. Yeah, and I was psyched about that. Yeah. And
if you want to visit Eric O'Sullivan's YouTube channel, there's a link in the video description. Do you have anything people should be on the lookout for, or maybe something you just posted?
I do it daily, 3 o'clock U.S. Eastern, 3 p.m. U.S. Eastern daily. We talk about the golden age of DC comic books. And so I'm able to talk about comic books every day, and I'm going to do it for the rest of the year. And to be asked to come here with you guys and to talk comic books for a few hours, I feel blessed and so grateful. So I get to talk about comic books every day. I really do. So tune in, please. Yeah, like and subscribe.
Absolutely. And you get some great shorts on how to make some food. Skip and Tosh, contributor to the channel, is recommending Gun Honey, Detective Comics 1063, and Swamp Thing 16 finale. Very nice stuff. Drew, you and I are going to talk about our recommendations tomorrow on the channel. We're going to record it up and ready for all that stuff. Should people be on the lookout for anything at the Comics Elite YouTube channel, or perhaps anything you're working on that they should know about?
Yeah, I'm going to recommend everyone go to their LCS and ask them to pre-order Born of Blood #1 from the Lunar Distribution Catalog. FOC is tomorrow. Tomorrow is the FOC for this, final order cutoff. Gabe recommended it, and I believe you will enjoy reading this. You will enjoy reading Shiaris. In my opinion, she's the best new female character in comics right now. I'm throwing that gauntlet down. I've worked my butt off in this series, and I believe you'll get your money's worth.
Nice.
Very nice. So if you haven't done that, get to your comic shop within the next 24 hours and see if they can get that by the FOC. Kenneth Dowling said, just bought an oldie but goodie. It's been on your retrospective. I'll share when I'm on the panel. Have a great one, fellas. We've done over 50 comic book retrospectives with Eric Braid and Joe Corral at this point. So it's guaranteed to be good because we haven't covered anything bad, but it could be anything at this point. Can't wait for you to show that to us. Kenneth, thank you so much for supporting the channel. I hope you have a fantastic weekend. All right, Doc, you are last but not least. What do you recommend?
I picked up 4 comics this week. I did not actually read any of them yet. I was mostly trying to get some kind of caught up on some stuff. But I did flip through Batman Beyond the White Knight presents Red Hood #2. It looked fine. I really liked the art on the first issue. Not super psyched for the story, but it wasn't bad in the first issue. So I'm hoping the second issue is pretty good. I'm getting more and more disappointed by ASM as the issues go by. I still bought issue 8, but I'm not sure how much longer I'm hanging on to this. Otherwise, seriously, buy back issues. Buy all the back issues.
All right. Well, I do want to say thank you very much to everyone. That is a great haul that you got there. My goodness, Eric. So many Erics on this damn thing. The Sultan of Soup himself. Thank you so much to everyone for supporting the channel. Joining us here on Saturday. We'll be here next week. The Comics Aficionados. I believe Eric is going to join us because Josh is, well, he's just not available. And hopefully we can get him as a ringer to replace him here for a couple more weeks. Have a great weekend, and we'll see you next week right here on the channel.